It's deadline day, or as it's known to West Ham fans, it's just Tuesday. But anyway, the transfer window closes in a couple of hours. The latest West Ham transfer rumours are not much. There's not much happening. We're potentially signing somebody for the under-21s, and it looks like Longello will be joining Birmingham City on a permanent transfer. They're trying to get that through at their end. But in terms of West Ham, it's been a very, very quiet day. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. We are live for the next couple of hours. I know you'll be thinking, well, there's nothing to talk about. There's loads to talk about. We'll be taking a look back at the transfer window, and we've got guests on from now. Well, I'll say now. He's late. We've got guests on from hopefully in about a minute, right up until 11 o'clock as well. Anton was due to join us. He's running a little bit behind. Chris Akabusi is coming up at around about 10 past, quarter past. But Gonzo, you're here from the start. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you very much, mate. I'm not too excited, if truth be known. It's a bit of a letdown, the old transfer deadline day, isn't it? What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different now, isn't it? I put it on earlier. I had it on in the background, and Stephen Bartlett was on discussing who he'd like on his podcast. Then they had the DJ at St James's Park pumping out the tunes he was going to be playing this evening and whatnot. So it's definitely changed. Deadline day has definitely evolved over the years and stuff. But I think as West Ham fans, we knew not to expect much today.
It's not evolved for us.
No, but it doesn't mean you can't be disappointed. Even though I was expecting nothing, I'm still disappointed because nothing has happened. And I don't think it's helped when you're looking at teams around us down at the bottom of the table doing business as well. And you're thinking, right, okay, now I'm starting to get a little bit jittery. I think 12 months ago, we were in the situation where we were in with a potential shout for Champions League football and we did nothing. And I got nervous then. But it's a different type of nervous this year. Last year was a case of, oh no, we might only get Europe Conference League football. This year is, oh no, we might end up in the Championship. We've gone from Champions League to Championship in the space of 12 months.
Well, they sound very similar, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, they do. And we've done the exact same thing for both windows, which is naff all. So anyway, we've got our first guest. He's nice and early. Shall we get him on, Gonzo?
Yeah, bring him forth.
Here he goes, Chris Akabusi.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Chris.
Boys. How are you?
Nice bins, mate.
Yeah. There you go.
They're new. They look new. I like them.
Yeah. Well, they were new about a year ago, but I've not seen you guys for a while.
You haven't. They still look good as new, mate. You got your money's worth there.
Bless you, brother. Bless you.
Anyway.
No, I was just caught in the back end of what you said there about looking at the other clubs around us. And look, there's a mini league, right? There's a mini league now, and hopefully, our boys are woken up to the fact that we are in a mini league. Forest downwards, seven of us are staring relegation flat in the face, right in its eyes, and 3 or 4 of those teams are already doing stuff. They're getting people in, just like we did last season, like we did with Lingard. They're getting people in, and they're going to make a fight of it. It's going to be a right battle to the death. Teams have changed their managers. They've changed their players, and it's going to be a battle for the death. And it's not going to be the 40-point mark. It's going to be 35, 36 points, but it's going to be a battle to the death. And our form over the last year doesn't look good.
Did you think we needed someone, Chris, in this window? Aside from Danny Ings, of course.
I think we've got the players. I think we've got the playing staff. We just need our manager to wake up. We need our manager to stop telling themselves porkies. Stop basking under the European dream. Yeah, we've had a cracking couple of years. If you look at the 6th and 7th place that we've had. But actually, you've got to start looking at, and sportsmen are like this. I don't really understand footballers. Because if you was an athlete and you had the stinking 12 months that West Ham have had, you wouldn't kid yourself that you're in form. You wouldn't kid yourself because you went to the European Championships and the Commonwealth Games, you're in great shape. You would say, no, you know what? I look at my last 12 months I look at my performances and competitions, I'm well below par, and something needs to be done. And you'd be changing your coach, you'd be changing your diet, you'd be changing your training environment. You'd be looking over your performance schedules, asking what are you doing differently or what needs to be done differently. You wouldn't be sitting back and talking fairy stories. So we need to get over that. If you ask me the question, will we go down? No, I don't think we'll go down in the end, because I think there's 2 teams in the bottom 3 right now that are worse than us, and I think one team will fall out of the sky that's actually not in our league at the moment. It could be Forest, who are top of our league, but it could be somebody else who's currently mid-table, who haven't really been fluttering with the drop zone, who will fall in. And I do think we've got enough to get out, but we've got to wake up. I saw an interview with Ogbonna, a 2 or 3 minute interview. And okay, he might be a nice, relaxed guy, but he's saying, cool, no worries. No, mate, there's a lot of worries. It's not cool. This is not a Sunday walk in the park. This is the Premier League, and people want to stay in it, and you're not running hard enough. You're not fighting hard enough. Wake up, boys.
Well said, Chris. Honestly, I think what you just said there about a sportsman looking at, you can't. The thing is, it's coming from someone like you. You can't even argue with it, because you've seen it. You've walked the walk, well, run the run, shall we say? Jump's the jump, Chris. Hurdle the hurdle. And it's. I think that's really it. Why would you rest on your laurels? Why would you take some sort of solace from form that is a year ago? It's the here and the now. And there's actually different participants in the race. There's new people. There's new athletes on the track.
Yeah. Here's another one for me. So I look at our players and look at some. Now, I could say Cresswell. I could say Soucek. I'm not having a go with these guys. Been great servants. But if I was Cresswell and I looked at my last 2 years, you just think about the game against Stuttgart. Think about the game, and I was skinned 3 or 4 times, and I was doing reckless fouls because I just couldn't keep up with the pace of the game. I'd go to the gaffer and I would say, I need a move. I need to go to a club maybe in
Tottenham or something.
Yeah, I'll do you a favour. No, but I'm not a Premier League player. I've not got the pace for Premier League anymore. Because and he's been a great servant. And if the manager won't take him out the firing line, then he needs to be able to say to himself, I'm getting skinned on a regular basis. And people are coming down my flank because I'm the weak link. I'm not doing anyone any favours. And I don't understand, because you would never, as an athlete, go in a relay team and go, yeah, put me in, and know that you're going to get skinned by 10 metres and you look like a chump. You wouldn't do it. You'd go, you wouldn't even enter in the fray. So I just don't get the mentality when a footballer, and I'm not talking about, we all have the odd bad games, bad competition. But if consistently, and Cresswell's been poor for the last 18 months, and I'm sorry, I don't want to have a go at him, because there's other, Soucek has been poor for the last 18 months. You'd say, put me on the bench. I need a rest. Because someone like Soucek, for example, and Kufel, they played so much football. Up and down, up and down, up and down, for club and country. And they were brilliant when they came in. And we rested on them when they came in. But if the gaffer doesn't say, I'm going to take you out of the firing line for 12 weeks, I want you to, because I want to build you back up again. Because and these guys are world-class athletes. When you're a world-class athlete, you cannot be expected to perform at the highest level week in, week out, day in, day out, twice. You can't do it. So you have these people. Sit down. Take some time out. Build it back up. Slowly, do a little mini winter training with him. Leave the ball alone for 3 or 4 weeks. Go out and run and do your strength and dynamics. Slowly build up and get yourself ready for a 6-week period. Gaffer, I'm the man.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean? You come back in, and then you're ready. Antonio, you're ready. You know, Antonio's had a bad couple of. What was it? How many goals has he scored? The guy's gone off the boil. Gaffer, leave me alone. Don't get me in there. Leave me alone. I'll set away and then come back and then be ready. This is the mentality you would have if you were doing track and field athletics. If you were doing track and field athletics, you wouldn't be going out and crossing the line knowing that you're 8 yards slower than you're supposed to be. No, you don't do it. You step away, you redo your training, you build up, you target an event that's 14 weeks away or 20 weeks away, and you get yourself ready. Because when I cross that line, there is no excuses, no second chances, no, oh, sorry, can I have the ball again, please? No. Do or die, there is no try.
Anyway, I've got another question for you. No, wait.
No, we like it. We like it.
We like it. But we're on limited time. But if you're watching live and you've got any questions for Chris, get them into live chat and we'll get them up. But Chris, the live chat, absolutely loving you. Natural Mystic says, get Moyes out, get Akabusi in. Alan's loving it. He says you're excellent. Mark's loving you. Laburo's loving the passion. Aaron's loving the passion as well. Cyclops says, bottle that passion and inject it into the team. KP says he's getting motivated listening to it.
He's lacing up these boots. KP is.
They're absolutely loving it. Ultra says, get Chris in that dressing room. Scott reckons we found the next manager as well. Vicky's asking, where would you play Paqueta?
I'm playing in the old-fashioned inside right, inside left. I think it's sort of like the creative player that's pulling people in. Oh, why would you waste a player with that sort of skills in a defensive midfield role? What are you talking about? You've got to let that guy play with the ball. He should be having a Payet type of role. Let him play off the leash. Stop telling him what to do. This kid has just got skills dripping out of every single pore. So
I wonder what he's going to say then, Chris.
Yeah. I play him in a much more advanced role. You know, and there'd be games when he wouldn't play. I say, no, mate, this is English Premier League where it's muck and bullets. It's hammer and tongs, not your sort of game. This might be a Soucek game. But there are games when this guy has got to play. For example, when you're playing Liverpool, Man United, Man City, Paqueta's got to play. Why? Because he's as good as those players. You might not have him in there when it's dirty and it's Wolves and it's Bournemouth and they're fighting and they're biting and they're going to kneecap you. Okay, let's leave you out, son.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Alan, Rudy's asking, what position do you think we'll finish on and how many points do you think we'll achieve?
Whew. So I think we'll finish outside of the relegation zone and the rest of it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether we're on 40 points, 45 points. Our season is shot. We'll finish outside the relegation zone because we will turn up at a couple of games. We'll win. We'll probably beat Chelsea and Tottenham on the bounce. That's what's
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll probably beat Chelsea and Tottenham and then get hammered by next time Brighton will come back or whatever. But so we'll get out of that. I would like to think that we scrape out of it and we win a cup.
Well, interesting. I love that. Adam's putting you on the spot. He says, well, what 3 teams do you think will get relegated then?
Southampton, Bournemouth, Forest.
Okay.
I think Forest will. I think Forest are climbing and they're getting out of it, although, you know, we're getting out of it. But they'll get a smack in the nose. They'll all go Pete Tong and they'll lose confidence. No one will know what the next one is doing and they'll go down. Southampton have already thrown in their they've had the new manager. They've had the new manager bounce. They're buying a few players, but I think it'll be too little, too late, and they'll finally go down. And Bournemouth are not good enough.
Yeah, I have to admit, I watched the first half of Newcastle Southampton tonight, and as good as Newcastle were, and it's made me worried for Saturday. Southampton were that poor, and Jones has got it so wrong tonight. I thought that gives me a bit of hope, actually, that's the manager's new ideas, and it's really not working. Last one for you then, Chris. Mark was asking if you could sign one player, who would it be?
If I could sign one player, Harry Kane.
There you go. I do. Why not?
You answered the question.
You didn't put any rules.
He didn't know. So interesting, though. Out of all the players in the world, you chose Harry Kane, not Mbappe or anything like that. You went for
No. Well, you know, yeah, because Harry Kane scores in the Premier League. Simple as that. And you know, we've got Scamacca, we've got Ings, we've got Antonio up front, but none of those at the moment can be guaranteed of scoring in the Premier League. Harry Kane is guaranteed getting 20 odd. Oh, I could have said Haaland. I could have said that, yeah. But Harry Kane, he's across the road, and I know he'll score week in, week out the Premier League. And then in the end, goals win games, right? Correct.
Well, Chris, I hope you are correct. I hope we are going to stay up, and I hope we do get that trophy thrown in as well. But thank you very much for joining us tonight. Massively appreciate it.
We're not going to leave it another year, mate. You get another set of glasses and all that, all right? We'll see you sooner than that.
Bless you guys.
See you,
Good luck
mate.
with the rest of it, fellas. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
mate.
Thank you to all your members. Bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
See you, mate.
Right. Would you like the next one?
Bring him on.
Here he is. Perry
Perry.
or Billy, depending on what you watch on the telly. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, I was just watching Chris there. Absolutely love. He used to sit near me at West Ham. But it shows you the trouble we're in, because I've never seen him so serious. You know, like he's making his points, because Chris is just say one sentence, laugh. Say another sentence, laugh. And, you know, but I tell you what, he made some great points there. Really different point of view.
Me and Gonzo always say Chris can come on and be negative, but sound positive.
Yeah. I mean, big personality, and that thing that he said about the relay team, that's a really good point, you know, and to sort of be big enough a man to just go, look, I can't act this, and you lot won't get a medal. If I know that I'm not fit or I can't actually do that, I'm letting you three down as well. And it's a good analogy, you know.
Well, and there's no comeback to it. You know what I mean, Perry? There's no comeback to that. It's all right. One thing, me and Geo, if we were to say that, we've never said anything remotely as insightful as that, of course. But you know, for someone that's won a gold medal to say it, you know, for an Olympian to say it,
yeah, and
you know, it's a really good point, isn't it?
With the dedication that he would have shown, you know, and you know, there's no money in it back then, really. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of sponsorships and everything, and it was. You know, I've seen those films of like swimmers and runners and stuff like that, and they've got a poxy little running club somewhere, and they get up at 4 a.m. and they do this and they do that. It's about.
His look expensive though. To be fair, he can't be that poor.
I have to say that. Yeah, they're better than mine.
And anyway, Perry, transfer window, deadline day. We've not signed any. Well, we signed Danny Ings, but we've not signed anybody else. It looks like we're not going to sign anybody else. Are you happy with the business, or do you think we're a bit short?
No, I'm never happy with it, to be honest with you, mate. It's always a letdown to me, especially the January one. The January transfer window. I was walking the dog earlier on, and I talked to him when I'm walking him, do you know what I mean? And kind of like thinking about what I was going to say here and stuff. And I just thought, scrap it. Scrap the January transfer window. Go back to what it should be like. A bit like when fantasy football first started, you know? And you buy all your players, you've got all your team, you assemble it all. Then they introduced in fantasy football, you could, you know, sell and swap and all that sort of cods. That's why I ducked out of it. But the thing about it is, it's make it a more level playing field. Look at Chelsea, are they going to spend 105 million or something like that? You know, the big 6 or 7 clubs, yeah, they've got their way with their 5 subs. We didn't want it. Klopp started all of that stuff. Oh, we need 5 subs. It's such a grueling. Oh, shut up, mate. Really shut up. He's got really miserable in lately, hasn't he? Have you noticed?
He's losing, isn't he? That's the thing.
See it now. He's just like, he's really bitter now. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying his team and everything, but he's never in. But anyways, yeah, so, you know, like start off and in the summer, May to August, you've got your players that are already there. So you extend their contract for a year. I am kind of half making this up as I go along, but I know what I mean with it. It's the fact of the matter is, you've got squad players, you've got youth players, and what you do and what you get then, the season kicks off, and you're all there. Now Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, all that mob, Arsenal, they will have super teams. Of course they will. But what would happen to them if there wasn't a January transfer window and there was injuries like we have, lots and lots of injuries? So we can't, we don't have the money. Never mind us, there's teams worse than us in terms of money and stuff like that. But if suddenly Man City turn up after Christmas and they haven't got Haaland, they haven't got De Bruyne, they haven't got Foden, and you ain't got to look at their bench going, oh, man, they're just going to bring on half a team for the second half, and the ones that we've beat in the first half, forget about them. There's another mob. It's too lopsided, and I think it's just it's another opportunity for any of the big 6, 7 or whatever, that if they've had a dodgy start, they've got the money to go and replace and change stuff. Make them play. It'd be good for younger players, academy players at clubs and stuff like that. Then we see people battling it out, a bit like the FA Cup in that sense. Do you know what I mean? Like a kind of half decent Bournemouth, West Ham, or whatever, playing against a depleted Man City, but our players have just stayed fitter. Or, and it'd stop. I've got to say this. That little mug, Anthony Gordon. Players doing we've had it done with us, with Payet and Arnautovic and Defoe and Ince and blah, blah, whatever. It's despicable. It's despicable. What is he, homegrown lad?
Yeah.
Gone through the system. They're bottom of the table, and he's like, I'm out. I'm going. And how can a player get rewarded for not doing his job? For if you did it, if all of us did that, that's it, you're gone, mate. If I don't turn up to work for 3 days, where you been? Right, you're sacked. You know what I mean? It's kind of, he's gone on a massive pay deal there. And all the Geordies are going, yeah, we've got him and stuff like that. No, you don't need Claire Balding in your team.
Yeah, it's a bit like managers. People always say about managers that you get rewarded. What's up?
Claire Balding.
He looks like Claire Balding.
I seen someone say that earlier. It's funny.
Hey, made me
He
snort.
does look like
I
it.
snorted then.
He does look like it. I seen about Premier League managers. Well, not just Premier League managers. They said it's the only job you actually get paid for failing.
Yeah.
We want you sacked. Use your 4 million. Ta-ra! And you're going to cheers, mate. Thank you for that. I'm off ski now.
And whatever. It's like Allardyce, and they all come out of the cupboard, don't they? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, well, I'm up. Well, Allardyce ain't a firefighter anymore as well, which is another thing I was quite pleased about.
They haven't wheeled him out. I only took half an hour off before we did this. Did he? No one's signed Allardyce, have they?
Don't think so. But do you know what I mean? Those names come out, and you sort of you think, has no one got any imagination? It's like, especially with us,
yeah.
When you're talking about Benitez and things like that, and we're like, yes, we know he was a good manager many, many years ago, but he's failed miserably since then. And yet, just because he's a name, that's supposed to impress us. It was. I'd rather have a good young coach somewhere. Or do you know what I mean? Or what's the point in that? And also the style of football. When Allardyce said that about us in his book about like what is the West Ham way, and he was really quite sarky about it and stuff. And it was kind of like, well, obviously, clearly, you wouldn't understand that because it's not your way. It's
is that on the bookshelf? Is it Perry, that Allardyce book behind you?
No, mate. Funny enough, it ain't. No. I'd rather read Spare, I think. I bought that for the missus. She ain't even touched it yet.
The Allardyce one.
No.
Oh, she couldn't believe it when she opened that.
Yeah, Sam Allardyce is all my struggle.
My time with England.
Yeah. Oh, don't.
Right.
That was a theory. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of it's never good for us. I get bored with watching it during the day when they go around all the grounds and there's a freezing cold reporter there, and there's about 2 supporters and a car goes past, and it's like
Yeah, but it's changed, Perry. I liked it back in the day. Do you remember when we had the dildo getting stuck in his ear and there's an inflatable naked body and stuff? I like that deadline day stuff going on. There was always drama.
I think the thing is that, gee, it's like, everybody else is so fed up with it now, like that anyway. Should we take that dildo down the car park tonight and wave it about behind Jeff Stelling's head or something like that? Nah, I can't be arsed. I just watch it on
That's
telly.
right.
Whatever.
A bit cold, isn't it, really, for that?
I'll let someone else do it. And of course, no one else does. But it's just, especially with us, you wait and I'm looking for the names along the bottom. And earlier on, it said we signed fresh forward from PSV.
I know.
Hey,
Yeah.
for the team, though, isn't it?
Yeah. They tricked us on purpose.
Brilliant. Don't get me wrong. Brilliant. I love the women's game and brilliant for them. But, for PSV, hang on a minute. And we always, every deadline day, and West Ham putting a late bid for so-and-so, like some middle table club in Spain. So you get your phone out and I'm Googling it and whatever. We never sign someone who we've heard of. I mean, like in transfer windows and stuff. I did a bit of homework last night, boys, and it's quite interesting. These are the known signings, players who were famous, as it were, at their thing, and we bought them, but we didn't look at the sell-by date, right? And it goes back to Jimmy Greaves in 1970.
Wait, hang on. Before you go, Perry, I'm going to bring in Anton Ferdinand because Anton's loving this. I can just see him smiling as Perry's way to read out his list. So we've got Anton to join us as well. No pressure, Perry, but you can carry on now. But I just want to see Anton's reaction here.
How you doing, guys?
All right, mate. Go on, Perry. Fire away, mate, with your list.
Yeah, all right.
I think he said he can't hear Anton. Can you still hear me, Perry?
He's having a
No, I broke it.
Obviously
Oh,
not.
no, I broke
Obviously
it.
not. All right. Come back in. You'd have to boot him out, Geo. Text him
Yeah.
and then get him. He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, right. Anton, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. No
Been
signings.
busy day, man. Wow.
Well,
busy
for
day
you.
for me, anyway.
Have you been signing players? Because West Ham haven't.
Yeah, I've literally just got back from Lincoln. One of our young players, Ethan Elahon, moved from St Mirren to Lincoln today, which is a good move for him. He's young. He's 21 years old. He's got over 100 games in the Scottish Premier League, and he wants to come and mix it down in England and be in the island of English teams and try and get into the Championship / Premier League. So it's a good move for him and a good stepping stone for him.
No, nice one, mate. Nice one. Are you surprised to see West Ham not doing any business so far today, though?
Yeah, I am, considering the injuries we've got. Obviously, Skamaka and now Danny Ings is injured. I thought we would have try and got another attacking player. And maybe a midfielder, to start bedding in now before Declan goes, whether that's in the summer or the January after, we don't know. But I thought we would have got a midfielder in and another attacking player.
Yeah, I agree. I've been meaning to ask you, Anton. We did get Danny Ings. What did you make of that signing prior to his injury, of course?
He's known for goals, evidently, but the position that we're in, we need players who can get on the pitch. I hope it's something that don't keep him out long. I hope it's something that don't continue to reoccur. Since he's done his knee, he's had reoccurring injuries and injury problems. There's no doubt, though, that when he is fit, he scores goals. He's a bagsman. He does score goals. But in a position that we're in, relying on somebody who to be fit for large periods is someone that we need. Someone who's 50-50 and ain't going to be fit all the time is someone that really we didn't really need. I mean, Antonio has got a history of having injuries and hamstring injuries, but to now have two who get reoccurring injuries, and Skamaka who looks like a long-term injury. I just didn't see the fit, if I'm honest.
Harrison Ashby left the club. It was confirmed earlier today, I think it was, that it was confirmed he's joined Newcastle United. He's been paraded at St James's Park before the game tonight. What did you make of that departure?
See, this one upsets me. This one really more than anything. We've got Soufal, who last year was fantastic, but he's come out and spoken in the Czech press to try and put pressure on Moyes about not playing and stuff like that. Get rid of him and keep Ashby. I don't understand. Keep him and let him and Ben Johnson fight it out. If we let him and Ben Johnson fight it out, we got two players that potentially are worth 20 plus million. Now we're selling one of them at, what was it, 3 million?
Yep.
We're now selling one at 3 million to another Premier League team, by the way, for 3 million. When if we would have kept him and nurtured him and let him fight with Ben Johnson for the place at right back, potentially we might have two £20 million players. And if we sell one of them then for 20 million, then I think that's deemed fair. That's better for the club as a whole and as a business and as an advertisement for young players that are trying to come into the doors at the Academy of Football.
Brilliant. Right, Anton, I'm going to grab Perry because he can heave us again now. Perry, we're waiting on that list.
Oh, yeah. Hello, Aaron.
How you doing, Perry? I thought you was actually having me on.
So did I.
Nice to see you, mate. Oh, right, yeah. So the list. Listen to this, Ant. This will make you laugh. Right. Famous football signings, West Ham signings. Going back to Jimmy Greaves, he come for a year, didn't he? And then couldn't stand it or whatever. John Radford, Brady, Liam Brady, Radichoya, Lundberg, Kieran Dyer, Davor Sukur, Robbie Keane, Rebrov, McCarthy, Scalacci, Haller. Basically, yeah, they're the only ones that I could find who you go, oh, yeah, no, they did a bit. And really did nothing for West Ham. John Radford, listen, I'm getting on a bit, so this is a bit old for you two, but scored prolific goals for Arsenal, centre forward for years. Come to West Ham, I think he played about 23 games, didn't score a goal. And we transferred him to Bristol Rovers, and he got a hat-trick, I think. First game, something like that. But, you know, this is my transfer. This is why transfer deadlines and transfers, you know. You know, we've got injuries. This season, again, Cornet, is he another Boogers in the making?
Oh, Marco Boogers.
Are they going to put him in a caravan claiming that he's mad? I don't know. Ings, something away, Danny Ings. It sums it up, doesn't it, with us? I mean, we've had such bad luck, you know, and it's...
Is that one bad luck, though, Perry?
What's that, Ings?
Danny Ings, is that bad luck or is that naivety and desperate?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. That's a good point, actually, because I think what the January transfer window does is, like, you know, I'd love to see someone compile really successful transfers that have happened in the window. Do you know, like, where kind of, you know, the money has been well spent and the player has delivered and stuff like that, because there's a lot of panic and desperation in it. And whereas another player, you might think, well, no, we're watching for a bit. Do you know what I mean? Because of the time. And I think we're all in this weird season at the moment where we're still halfway through, but because it's the end of January, everybody's, you know, it's relegation, dogfight, it's this and it's that. And it ain't quite. Do you know what I mean by that, boys? It's kind of like, yes, we know we're not in a good position, but at the same time, there's still a lot of games to go.
I agree with that. There's a lot of games to go, but being a player, you don't want to hear I wouldn't want to hear people, and as a fan now, I wouldn't want to hear people saying to the lads, we're not in a relegation battle yet, because they might rest on their laurels, you know. So I think it's like, listen, we're in a relegation battle, boys. We need to flip and sort ourselves out.
Yeah, I mean, we want to get. I mean, you know, it's nice having that on the back burner, the European tournament, but I mean, you know, we could get knocked out of that straight away. We don't know. We don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would be comfortably mid-table, you know, which takes 4 or 5 wins, and suddenly you're knocking on the top 10. and you're looking a long way down. Then where we are at the moment, we could be back there again on Saturday. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like need to get comfortable and then enjoy that run, because otherwise it's, when we get Man United in the cup now, smashing.
I know. But I said it on Sky Sports News yesterday. I think it could be the way that we're going. It could be another Di Canio moment. Remember that game in the FA Cup with a one-hander? Exactly.
Yeah, when was it Bartes? He thought he could.
Yeah, and he bent it around him. Yeah, he bent it around him outside of the boot.
Yeah,
there were some good T-shirts made after that, I got to say.
I always fancy it against Man United though. For Ferguson years, and when you was playing and stuff, it was like they never liked playing us.
No, they didn't.
There was a pratfall waiting for them there. Do you know what I mean? Kenny Brown scored in that game and stopped them and whatever. And it's kind of like, I remember Alex Ferguson come down to, there was like a dinner for John Lyle. And he fair in Ferguson, you know what I mean? They were playing the next day, Man United, and it was a midweek thing. But he flew down because he thought that much of John Lyle and stuff. And he did a brilliant speech, Ferguson, and he just loads, West Ham fans and whatever. And he went, "Oh, I've hated you bastards over the years." always just give us grief and stuff like that. And, the way that we have certain bogey teams, I think we can be a bogey team for them.
Yeah, I do.
23, anyone?
Yeah. Anyway, Perry, to not to pee on your list, but we signed Jarrod Bowen and Thomas Souček in January. We signed Jesse Lingard in January. We signed John Hartson and Paul Kitson in January. There's a few successful transfers for West Ham over the years this month.
Yeah, very good point.
That's a naughty list and a nice list.
Yeah, but in general, have we?
But as in reference to last January, I said you can't do any bad signings, you don't make any signings, and it's a bit like that this January. I know we got Danny Ings, I know he's got injured. I'll fight either of you two about that though. But it's still not enough, in my opinion. It's not enough. And like I said, I'm getting nervous when I'm seeing other teams around us strengthening in the last 24 to 48 hours. I'm quite thankful that Everton haven't really done any business and they've been struggling to get business done. But Bournemouth are chucking the money around now. They've got some ambitious owners that want to stay in the Premier League. Forest have made a couple of good signings. Getting Navas in is a very good signing. It's going to give Henderson competition as well. So it's made me a little bit nervous. Truth be told, guys, it's made me a little bit. Oh, here you go. I forgot about him. Ricardo Vaz. Hey.
I think one thing with the players that have come in other teams, the only blessing that we got, and it could be a blessing or a curse, they ain't got Premier League experience. When you're in a relegation battle, you need players who know the league. I know that firsthand. It's hard to bring players in who don't understand it. Other than like I say, Tevez, Mascherano couldn't handle it. Tevez did. Mascherano's a world class player. He couldn't handle it. Tevez did. You need to be a certain type of character to come to the Premier League, get to grips with it, and deliver. Tevez didn't deliver straight away. It took him a few months to get to grips with it, and we were in a relegation battle, and so I think that's the only blessing, that players that have come into the teams like Bournemouth and Forest, who are in positions similar to us, they're not players who understand or have played in the Premier League to understand what it's like, because every game is a tough game, whereas abroad you get hard games and you get a game that maybe you can go at half tilt, whereas this, you don't get that.
I think I'm just interested as well, and earlier on when I was sort of saying about, having, if you only had one transfer window in the summer and that you assembled your squad and stuff like that, and if players got injured, suspended and whatever, it would give, because that would happen, the younger players that come through the academy like yourself and whatever, I mean, that's a worry that I said last time I was on, boys, is I worry about, the chances that these players get. Harrison Ashby's just gone to Newcastle today.
That's done me, that one. Perry, I don't know about you, that's done me, that. That's done me.
But we've had a few like that, and they've not, they've got they've shown what they can do, and they've not been given a chance. And something like what I was saying there would be like, well, if you have to play players and you got to, I mean, what was it like for you? Do you know what I mean? Was it kind of like you've really got to work, haven't you, to get in there?
Yeah, yeah, and it was, for me personally, the blessing was it killed me as a fan, us going down. But when we went down into the championship, it gave me an opportunity to then play, and
Yeah,
it almost became my loan move was the championship.
right.
I was one of the ones who never went on loan. One of the only players in the youth team that never went on loan before they came into the first team. It was almost like the championship was my loan move,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know. But in what we got now today, especially with Harrison, I just look at it and I think, as a business and as a club and what we're known for, you keep a player like that. I would have rather them get rid of Sufal.
Yeah,
One for coming out and chatting rubbish in the Czech press, saying that he don't know why he's not playing and X, Y, Z to try and put pressure on the manager. But I'd get rid of him for that and let him, Ashby and Ben Johnson battle it out. If they battle it out and they do it well, we've got two players that could potentially
yeah,
be worth 20 million plus. As a
yeah,
business, that's good for us. As an advert for the young players that are coming in the door and through the doors at Chadwell Eve, it's an even better advert.
it's,
And this is what I don't understand about why this transfer was allowed to go ahead. And we're talking, it's not like he's gone abroad like
no,
Josh Cullen. He's gone to a Premier League club who potentially is going to go on to, in the next 5 years, and be in Europe and potential champions of the Premier League with the money that they've got behind them.
yeah. And
There was just no route into the first team for him. I think that was as big a problem as anything. Moyes has come out and Moyes has said, well, no, he wouldn't sign a new deal, so we had to let him go. But it's not like he's 16. He's in his early 20s. How old were you when you broke into the team, Anton?
I was 18.
There you go.
18.
Exactly.
I travelled and was on the bench at 17.
Yeah.
First time at Man United away, which was an unbelievable experience. But then made my debut at 18, but I was knocking Alan Pardew's door every week. I want to play. I want to play. I want to play. And I'm sure like there's players like that now who and a lot of these players, you've got to remember like Ashby and players like that who have come for the club. They come to the club years ago with the thought process of there is a pathway into the first team. That's why they came.
Yeah.
And the door was ajar a little bit, but they weren't able to kick it open. And if he's not going to sign a deal, you can't let you. And I'm looking at it from a player's perspective, not as a fan. Yeah, if you're young Ashby, who thinks he's good enough to play, by the way, and knows that there's other clubs that are interested in him, why would you sign another contract knowing that you may not play?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. And but you got a situation going on like that, where a player is like two different stories, where he's leaving because he's been asking, and there's been plenty of opportunities for him to play or be brought in and you get better because you play, and then like what I said before, when you go back to Anthony Gordon, that's a different kettle of fish. That is like, throwing your toys out of the pram rather than knocking the door saying, I play. That's saying I've had it here, and I don't know.
I just think for in terms of the young players and being somebody who came through the academy, I don't see enough players who come and establish themselves in the team anymore. Like, okay, we've got Ben Johnson who's established, Declan Rice established. Then after that, it's nose.
Yeah, but we had.
Then after that, it's me. And I'm retired. And there's two of us that's retired, but we've had Reece Oxford, we've had Junior Stanislas, we've had Zavon Hines, we've had all, but they've never established themselves in the actual first team.
Yeah.
And that's what we're known for. Players coming, not just creating players to have careers in the game, which is a fantastic thing, but creating players for West Ham to come
great West Ham players have all come.
Exactly, and we've gone away from that.
Yeah,
opportunities to actually establish themselves in the team.
Why did they get shot at Tony Carr? Years and years. It's brought everyone through, and for some reason, he was taken off the thing.
My personal opinion, listen, I hold Tony Carr in the highest regard possible.
Yeah.
To me, because what he done with me and how he enabled me to flourish, understanding the pressure that I was under, having Rio as my brother, and allowing me to grow at my own pace, and sometimes pushing me, sometimes giving me tough love, where he would look at me and say, listen, you got to be effing better, you know,
Yeah.
and giving me proper tough love, but also understanding that the pressure that was on me was different to everybody else, you know. So I hold Tony Carr in the highest regard out of most coaches that I had in my career. Him, Peter Braybrook, Paul Heffer, who part of my journey. Without them, I'm not sitting here talking to you, because I'm not classed as someone who's played over 150, 200 games for West Ham United, and that's a fact. So for me personally, with someone who's done so great and given so much to the football club, and not just giving it, but been successful in the model, in the remit of the football club. Exactly. I don't understand how he isn't embedded in that club in some way, shape, or form. Not as a. You don't have to be there day to day and every day like he's full on. He's getting older, but to lean on his experience, to lean on his words of wisdom, to lean on, we got a player here. How would you deal with that, Tony Carr? Tell me, please, because I want to make sure that he's the one that another one that's on the conveyor belt for us. That I don't understand.
Well, it could be. How would Bobby Moore have dealt with that time? You know.
Exactly.
Trevor Brooking. You know, it's that experience.
Exactly.
Well, West Ham are infamously poor. Even you say Bobby Moore there, he wasn't involved in the club at all. We're very, very bad at it. But you look at these top clubs, you look at Bayern Munich, all their people are still there. They ingrained all the people that come through in the fabric of the club. We do it terribly at West Ham.
It's a continuity, isn't it? You know, it's if you lose that, you break that, it's fragmented, and then, you know, no one knows what they're doing, who's doing what.
But that's the one thing, and it kills me to say it. Like, we're known as a family-orientated club. That's what we're known for. We're known as the supporters and the fan base and the players are one. We stick together. The hierarchy, we all stick together. We're known as a family. But do well for the club, you don't get treated like you've done well for the club, and that's a fact. I mean, like you said, how can Alexa Bobby Moore not be incorporated in the club when he was alive? That to me tells me everything. You know, and then now you've got, like, they're doing it with Mark Noble, which is fantastic, but you're hearing rumours that things ain't right, and then you're thinking, like, what's going on here? Because if anyone deserves to be treated properly, it's him. And I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not spoken to Nobes. I don't know the ins and outs of, but I know the rumours of maybe he's talking about stepping down, if I'm rightly in saying so, because of things that are happening behind the scenes. And I can only look at it like this from a fan's perspective, and looking from the outside in, is Mark Noble is a living legend, living West Ham legend, right? If he's now in a position where players that come in and out, fans are going to be looking at him.
Yes.
The position that he's in, right? If he's going to tarnish if he can tarnish, that is, his legendly status and his reputation with the fans, he must be allowed to do it on his terms. You know, not be the face of it. Someone else make the decisions, and then he's the fool guy. But the fact of the matter is, we'll leave him there because the fans won't turn on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and I think, there'll be a lot of fans that don't turn on him. But four on here who you lot longer than me, who've been West Ham fans longer than me, but know what the fan base is like I do, there will be people that will be looking at him sideways, because, hold a minute, you're meant to be in control of this. You're Mr. West Ham, but you're allowing this to happen, not knowing what's really might be going on behind the scenes.
But that's what I mean. Rumours are coming from then, isn't it? It's because I can imagine Nobes being, hang on a minute, you want me to do this job? Let me do it. And if someone's telling him how to do it, that's not letting him do his job.
Exactly. And he is a type of guy that if he's going to foul or if he's going to fall, he'll fall on his sword, not nobody else's.
Yeah.
He played like that, and he is like that.
Yeah.
The way he is. and that's why everybody loves him.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry to break up the conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. We've had some questions come in. Anton, I know your answer to this, but we'll get it as well for both of you. Hammer 89 is not sitting on the fence here. Perry, would you sack David Moyes?
I have to say no at the moment. I know that ain't popular, but I kind of have to just go. I have to look at what we've done in the last couple of years and where we've got to. And the last year has been awful. The worry that I have with him is our approach to playing the game. It seems. I mean, why buy all these attacking players, and then just try and play on the break or whatever. And I don't understand. I don't understand when we're at home why we're not coming out, having a go, pushing teams. West Ham are brilliant when we do that. We're talking about the FA Cup with Man United years ago and stuff. When they're all together, that's all the fans want to see. Is running at them, tackles, blah blah blah, whatever. And that's my reservation with it. I don't want this. We had all that with Allardyce and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? We're good at football. We've got good football players. The formations are going wrong, but at the same time, what do you do? You sack him, and then who comes in now? It's like, I mean, how many players have gone? How many managers have gone this season? And it's the end of January today. How many Premiership managers? About 8 or 9, maybe.
I'm guessing something around that. You won't be far off with that figure.
And what happens then as well? What we said earlier on, same names come round again. Benitez. Yeah, it's just. It's difficult. He's not the Messiah at the moment, but at the same time, he's got to get them moving because otherwise it will happen. This is what it is,
What about yourself, Anton? What's your current thoughts on Moyes?
I think mine's still the same. I think respect and love what he's done for us as a football club in terms of how he's taken us the last few years on a fantastic journey across Europe. But if we look at it deeply, the European surge that we've been on has really covered over the cracks within the league. I said on the last 2 shows that we've done with Hammer's Chat that I think David Moyes has gone away from what he's best known at in terms of the players that he's brought in. I think that when you look at where he's been successful with Everton and West Ham and us, the personnel of how he plays and who he plays is so similar and so mirrored. It's crazy. Souček, Fellaini. When you look at the wide players, Morales, Osman, Pienaar, Bowen, Fornells, Benrahma. They're so similar. Yakubu up top, big, strong. Antonio up top, big, strong. The defense is the same. The centre backs are the same. Head it, kick it. You know what I mean? So I think he that's where he's successful. And now he's brought in players that are got a bit more flair to them. When you got flair players, you got to be a different type of coach. You have to be a different type of coach. You have to be able to adapt. And where he ain't been successful with players that have flair and where he needs to adapt. And I think him going away from who he's used to coaching and having his team, I think really that's the reason why we're where we are.
Yeah,
brilliant answer. Chris says, do you see West Ham actually challenging at top regularly, or will we just sit mid-table mostly with odd European run and relegation battle? Perry, let's start with yourself.
Well, I thought we were. For the last couple of seasons, and that's the thing that I think is kind of is where we're at now and stuff like that. Is I can't work out where it's gone wrong. I mean, all this talk about teams have rumbled us now and all that. When we were doing really well. Well, we ain't doing really well at the moment. So maybe we should have stayed with what we were doing or whatever. It's kind of like it's just something's gone on there. something's gone on there in that dressing room or whatever, because I keep thinking, you know, that T-shirt you boys brought out when they were doing the players on the
The
pitch,
band, the celebration.
and whatever. That stays in my head, that image, because at that moment in time, we were smashing it, and it was all West Ham are massive and da-da-da. And of course, anybody else watching from another club, we don't mean it. We're having a laugh, right? But it really felt good. It really felt good. And there seemed to be that team, you know, that they were mates. They really were mates and stuff. And it's just kind of gone, all that's gone. It's like, you know, okay, last couple of games we showed a little bit more. But the downward spiral, that's another thing what you have to think about with Moyes. You know, it's kind of like we lost a few good coaches down there as well, who were part of his backroom staff.
You weren't selling knockoffs of our T-shirt at Wolford Market, were you, Perry?
I know, but if you send me some, I want one of them. One what Geo's got on, by the way.
You can have that one. Have one off his back.
I've sent one for you, though, if you want. Yeah, we do. But, you know, maybe it's sort of, you know, it's a different game now, isn't it? It's the whole thing. If, you know, someone comes in and he's getting more money than him and this and that, and whether that fractures the you know. But I'm really disappointed this season. If we finish in the top 10 this season and we get, you know, to the final, that Euro thing, and after what we've been through, maybe if we beat Man United, we're happy days. But you know, for 2 years we've been like, we're fourth, we're third. You know, we're there and thereabouts. So it's just been so disappointing. But I hope so. Long-winded way of answering, but I hope so.
Anton?
What's the question again? Perry was so long, I forgot the question.
Tell him. Don't put up with it, Anton. Tell him as it is.
We'll switch it up for you, Anton. We'll give you more of a fun one because we're keeping an eye on the time here. And Nutella says, Anton, who did you enjoy playing alongside the most during your time at West Ham?
I enjoyed playing alongside Danny Gabidon the most. But then again, Elliot Ward as well. I played with Elliot from under 14s all the way into the first team. And we had a fantastic rapport. And for two players so young, at 18 years old, to be the benchmark and get such a massive club like West Ham back into the Premier League, and it was on our shoulders being the two defenders, I think it was fantastic. But in terms of my enjoyment was probably Danny Gabidon. You know, we just clicked as soon as we went on the pitch. We just clicked. I always knew where he was. He always knew where I was. I never had to worry about him because he was quick. He was fast. He loved defending one-on-one, and vice versa with me. He didn't have to worry about me. So I think that's why in that first year in the Premier League, why we were so exciting, part of it was because our attacking players and our fullbacks could play so high because me and Gabs didn't mind defending 1v1, you know, and I think that's why we were so attacking and so and so exciting, especially at home at Upton Park.
Right, Anton, one word answer. Well, maybe a 3-word, depends if it's a double barrel surname. Who was the best player you played against?
Nicholas Anelka.
Did not expect that answer, but I
good though, wasn't he? Wasn't he good?
At Chelsea, not at Bolton. At Chelsea.
not Allardyce.
Not Allardyce and Elka, no.
Not at Bolton.
Right, listen, Perry, thank you so much for joining us. Massively appreciate it as always.
Sorry, Geo, 1 minute, Geo.
Yeah.
While we're on live, Perry, I'm going to ask you again. I'm retired now. I can do it. When am I coming on the set to be involved? I need to be involved. Even in the background.
All right, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
Can
I come too?
Can me, Gonzo, and Anton be at the table in the Vic or something just in the background?
Yeah. Listen, I'm due a bit of respect this year. You know, it's my 25th year in the show this year.
It's testimonial. Extended testimonial.
When I first started, I remember you and Elliot Ward. Do you remember, Anne? We were at East Ham Town Hall for some charity thing or whatever.
Yeah. And I asked you the same question then, probably. And I've been waiting 20 years, Perry. What's happening?
I'll go back to work next week. I'll get onto it. I promise you. You know, I know your brother. well, maybe we get you in as a Craig twins or something.
What about me and Gonzo? Can we come as well?
Yeah, you can be the Tackle Brothers.
Lovely.
We'll be anything. We don't mind. It's fine. Right. Well, Perry, thank you so much. Catch you in a
Thanks,
bit.
mate.
Anton, thank you so much as well. Pleasure.
Cheers,
having
mate.
you.
We'll
Thank
see you
very
soon.
much. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
Right. Myself and Gonzo are going to disappear for 10 minutes, but don't worry. What you're going to see next is an example of the podcast that we do every single week over on Patreon. We host Anton every single week over on Patreon as well. You get a load of insight like you've just got given. We're asking questions like we've been asking him tonight as well. There's a couple of people had questions for Anton we never got to, such as, did you ever get offered a role at West Ham? So we'll ask him that next week over on Patreon, patreon.com/Hamish Chat. But me and Gonzo are going to disappear and leave you in the hands of Charlie. We're going to leave you in the hands of Ray. And we're going to leave you in the hands of their guest. Charlie, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Geo. Thank you, everyone. And thank you all for joining. Let's start this properly. Ray, welcome to Two Spanners, One Hammer, the Hamish Chat Patreon exclusive podcast made just for you. My name is Charlie Holsh, one of your hosts, alongside the Liverpool living legend, Dagenham Don himself, Ray Boreham. Ray, how are you?
Well, I want to be on the EastEnders as well.
Tough. We can't all be on there. And one person who I think deserves to be on there is our guest. He is a patron. He is a man who's been on many times. So if you enjoy it, definitely come check him out. And also has his own YouTube channel. It's Michael Levy Jr. Michael, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. I'm excited. I can't wait for the flurry of international superstar signings we're going to make. That's 59 minutes. What about you?
Right, this is the opportunity for us to go live because we are always off the rails, as Gonzo said. So
yes.
There's one thing we do every single show we haven't done, Charlie.
Sorry, we haven't done. So for context, and then we'll start the actual football chat. Before every show, we get the guests to do a big Icelandic clap, right? And this is just to get everyone in the vibe. So everyone in the chat as well, feel free to get involved if you want. Ray, by the way, your audio's all over the shop. That's fine. You're gonna do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Michael, you've been involved in the clap before. I'm sure you'll get involved. We'll all hit a big oosh, and then we'll actually start discussing all of the lovely signings West Ham definitely haven't made. So, Ray, do you want to count us down for the oosh?
Right, ready? 3,
Yes.
2, 1.
Oosh. There we go. There we go.
Feel better now. Feels proper now.
There, it does feel proper. Michael, let's start with you. Give me it on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe with a sentence. How do you feel like this window has gone for West Ham United?
Oh, goodness me. We're not going into minus numbers, are we? Can't do that, can we?
If you wanna, it's your number.
You know what? I felt like the signing of Danny Ings, probably right place and time, probably not the sort of right demographic or age group or whatever we want, but experienced Premier League goal scorer. I wasn't hating it when we signed him, but then we all feared an injury might come up and scupper it, and that seems to be what's happened. But who knows? 3 or 4 weeks, maybe we'll all be hailing the next sort of Paul Kitson sort of signing. But yeah, I'm not crazy about it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I can't act like I am either. I feel like if we're being honest about it, you look at the situation, and if I was to give it out of 10, it would certainly be a very low number. I mean, look, we've signed Danny Ings, and I think Danny Ings is obviously a good player. I like Danny Ings, apart from the injury aspect. I like him a lot as a footballer, someone who you'd be very excited to be in the West Ham squad. But outside of that, I mean, it's been a bad window for us. We've moved incredibly slowly in terms of everything, and we've let seemingly every youth player leave. I mean, Ray, how do you feel about it?
Well, I kind of expected it, to be fair. I'm surprised we even got Danny Ings, to be honest. And I think that's because of an injury. If that weren't the case, we wouldn't have been able to get anyone. It's a joke. How many teams have not invested in January transfer window and stayed up?
It's a risk. It's a risk that we've done before. That's the most annoying part for me, is that this isn't new for us. This isn't something we haven't seen before. Last season, when we were trying to fight for Europe, we didn't invest properly in there. And then you look back at Moyes', it's fresh in my mind. Earlier on, I was thinking about this. Moyes' first time at the club, that first January, where we didn't sign anyone until the end of the window, when we signed Jordan Hugill right at the death, and then we signed Patrice Evra on a free transfer, and our director of football decided to make some comments that got him in a lot of trouble. I mean, it was very... this is a recurring theme at West Ham that's quite annoying. And this season of all seasons, last season we were doing really well. They should have invested, but we were doing it really well. This felt like the one where you have to go for it. And listen, again, nothing to say bad about Danny Ings, because I like Danny Ings, and also I don't want Geo to kill me. He's not here at the moment, so he won't hear it. But at the same time, I don't want Geo to kill me. But outside of that, I don't know, Ray. I think what in your mind? What are we missing?
A young striker, not Grandad Ings.
Sure.
You know. To be honest, I don't know what we're missing. Just something's not clicking. And to be honest, I think it might be the tactics as a manager.
It's Moyes, mate. It's Moyes. He's a stubborn man.
I was going to say, at the beginning of the season, I did say that I would happily take 17th and the European Championship. So I still got to stick by that. And once we win the UEFA Conference League, whatever you want to call it, are we going to be really caring about the transfer window in January? I don't necessarily know.
I mean, because the thing is it's the perfect combination for procrastination with Moyes and the board. It's the perfect two elements of people who both don't want to go and do these things that will just put it together. And you are at this point relying, Michael, 1000% on Moyes' ability to turn it around. And look, we've had a couple of decent results, couple of decent performances, but I can't imagine they're sat there, and by they I mean the board, sat there comfortable in this position, thinking, this is definitely going to work out. This is a mighty risk for them to take. This is the biggest probably deal. Selling West Ham is probably the biggest deal they're ever going to make in their lives, and it's a mighty risk to just let that go. Moyes will do this. Moyes will save it, because if it goes down to the Championship, you're not getting anywhere near 600 million, whatever they're saying. You're going to get nowhere close to that.
Yeah, I'm certain they're not comfortable in their seats. I'm certain they're squirming. Let's be honest. It's SB now, isn't it? No disrespect, but a good portion of us were balled out. I'm not speaking for everyone, but certainly speaking for myself. I wanted them gone for a while. But let's give credit where it's due and have a balanced point of view here. They were quite publicly making money available for Moyes last year when we were in a really great position, pushing for Champions League, and let him know there was money available to bring reinforcements in to really push. Had he gone and spent the money, we may have ended up in the top 4. We finished 2 points behind Man United. Had he reinforced and got a striker last year, we may have gone a step further in the Europa League. And this year it seems like there's lots of word coming out of the club that there's money available, that Moyes has been offered a striker. He's just a stubborn man. When it comes to the spending, he's spending it like it's his own, last pennies. And he's very, very fussy, very particular. Look, it's great that he has an ethos and he wants a certain character. But why has he spent 18 months looking for the perfect striker to fit the system? And now we've got all this Skamaka don't fit in. I don't really understand if he knows what his own ethos is or what he wants. So certainly coming back to your point, it's Moyes. He won't spend the money. He's too stubborn to change. He's too stubborn to drop his favourite. I would imagine that the board are sitting there sweating, not only from a football point of view, but as you rightly say, from a business point of view as well. He's taking their product and he's depreciating it in value to dangerous limits. And it's going to be touch and go, I think, as to whether we even stay up. And that could be potentially catastrophic. We've done this to death, particularly on Hammer's Chat channel and on the Two Spanners One Hammer. If we go down to the Championship in that big old bowl, it's just going to be disastrous. We're going to get maybe 30,000 people at the most. You're not going to get all the tourists and all the fair weather fans that we've had. No disrespect to anyone, but I could just see them. Of course, they're panicking. But then again, it comes back. We've said before, it's only so long you can blame the manager. At some point, the board have to step in. And at the moment, they're still sitting on their hands. So a proportion of the blame has to go to each, I think. But certainly they're not comfortable.
And I mean, and that's the thing. Is like, I would be relatively content. Let's just say Danny Ings was the only guy who came in. I would be relatively content. I would still be considerably worried with like Wing backs, I feel like we really, really lack. I feel like the games recently are showing that. And if three at the back is the way we're going to go, we've needed them desperately all season. You know, you're looking at potentially a centre midfielder, potentially attacking midfielder / winger. But I would go, do you know what? They went out and they bought a guy who is known for just he gets goals. That's what he does. And I would be relatively content, if not concerned about the future of the club in terms of getting relegated this season, but I'd be relatively content. But it is, and I can't lie, I was listening to Anton and Perry talk there, and definitely not Geo Gonzo, who have had a break now, but they had about a 10-minute break there where those two were just talking. And I was listening to them talking, and if anything, that wound me up about Ashby and everyone else leaving, Ray. I mean, I'm looking at that scenario and I'm thinking, you're not leaving anything for the future of the club either. And it's this thing of like, you know, we had this with Allardyce where there was a lot of push and fight against each other of what fans wanted versus what the manager wanted and everything else. And you're in a scenario now where there is a fight going on again, and not only that, the entire youth academy seems to be on the way out. I mean, Ray, does that how concerned are you about that? Because that's the thing that's massively getting to me now.
Well, I think Anton was saying it. He was saying like your youth team is your backbone. It's your give them a chance, give them an opportunity. And who was it I was listening to the other day said they didn't even know about Glenn Johnson back then. They didn't think about him as being a potential future player. And they gave him a chance. Look at the career there. I think there was opportunities that David that he missed, and like, you know, we was crying out for left back. And Jono was looking amazing when he come on for that last year. He just got moved out. You know, there's been opportunities and there's been times that he could have played some new players and just hasn't given them the opportunity, which is sad. It's sad. But then I was listening to Stuart Pearce the other day on TalkSport, and he was saying that he couldn't believe how much money they got for. It was on the right side with Bowen. We went to West Brom. Was it West Brom? Yeah, went to West Brom.
I think it was. I'm not certain, but I think it was.
Yeah, and he couldn't believe how much money we got for him, and then he used to play them day in, day out. So, kind of feel like we don't always see him as much, but we just see him in bits and pieces. So I'm not too sure. Is it 3 million that we've got for him?
Something like that. About 3. It was what was reported.
So, and potentially some sell-on clauses. So, we're overjoyed in that right back position with different players in there. So maybe I'm happy to take the 3 million. Time will tell. If Ashby goes to Newcastle and does overall, then it's 3 million saved. If he goes there and becomes England's new right back, then we've missed out on a massive opportunity there because of the stubborn Moyes.
I mean, the thing is, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, there's 3 sides to every story. There's Ashby's side, Moyes' side, and then the truth somewhere in the middle. So I guess it's hard to judge whether that was the right call or not. What is a little bit damning, though, is he's not the first under-23s player, under-21s player to go. There seems to have been a mass exodus. So it certainly seems like something's rotten in there somewhere. And it's probably down to the fact that they see slim to no chance of finding a pathway into the first team. So it's a damning indictment. Very fair.
Right, before we head off, because everyone's coming back now, and if you want more of this nonsense, then make sure to check out 2 Spanners 1 Hammer on the Patreon, patreon.com/hammerschat. But don't do it till tomorrow, because that's when it's actually worth your money. Tonight, you'd get... Don't do that. We will, of course, spin the wheel. Now, we like to do this every single episode, and today is no different. What we do is we spin the wheel of food. Now, we're bringing back the food one. Usually what we do is we have a list of questions given by people, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't get it ready in time. So instead, we're going to go back to food. I'm going to spin the wheel. McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, Indian, Chinese, Thai, kebab, chips, sushi, and whatever it lands on, Michael, you're going to have to tell us what you would order from that establishment. People in the chat do get involved as well. We're going to spin the wheel and see where it lands. Michael, are you ready, my friend?
I'm ready. I'm worried about judgmental Ray, but we shall go for it.
It's all right. We won't be able to hear him anyway. Let's spin the wheel. Michael Levy Jr. If you were to get a kebab, what would your kebab choice be?
Could not be more perfect. So and some of the others won't. I live here in Tenerife, and in Tenerife there's lots of fresh meat and fish and lovely food, but it's so hard to get a proper kebab. I can't get pie and mash here and liquor, and I can't get a proper kebab. So the first thing I do when I head back to the UK for shows or to see family is I will get myself a mixed kebab. I will get a mixture. I don't like chicken doner. I will get a mixed doner, chicken shish and lamb shish. Loads of, I want a separate pot of chili sauce. I can put it on my sauce, put it on myself, the sauce, a separate garlic mayo, and all the salad, no tomatoes, extra onion, please. And I'll take one of these right now, if you don't mind. What do you think of that one?
I respect it. Ray, out of 10, real quick.
I'll give it a solid 9.
I'll take it.
That's a fair point. Well, Michael, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm not sure anything's going to happen, so enjoy the rest of it.
I know we're probably rough on time here, but not to sound sycophantic. A quick shout to the patron, please, guys. If you're West Ham fans, it's the best value for money you're going to get. Please sign up. Such a great community there. I love it. Made lots of great friends, and watch every video every day. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Michael. Ray, appreciate you coming on.
Sorry about my audio. It'd be better for the patrons.
There you go.
This
That's
is
what you get
for
the money
free.
for. This is for free. Yeah, this is free. That's what you get the money for. Geo Gonzo, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your
Charlie.
evenings, and bye.
Ta-ra! Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Right, Gonzo, before we get our next guest on, can you put an alarm on your phone between now and, let's say, 1:45? So the next half hour, I want an alarm to go off on your phone.
All right. No Mickey taking, because last time we did this, you lot took the Mickey out of my alarm. Then Charlie did his, and Charlie had exactly the same alarm.
Yeah, it's a bit of an old man's alarm, but we'll let you go with it. But when it goes off, can you look at the live chat immediately, and whoever has commented latest is going to win a prize.
Okay, I'll do that.
I've got two prizes. I don't know how we're going to do this really.
The alarm is rolling, ticking. Okay.
I'll tell you what. We'll do a second prize towards the end of the show. I know I've got an idea of how to do that, but would you like to know the prize?
Tell me the prize, please. Oh, Velcro. Oh.
A Premier League captain's armband signed by Declan Rice. There you go. That is tonight's prize that we're giving to one of you. All you have to do is participate in the live chat. Obviously, no spamming, no trolling. Just participate with your thoughts on whatever we're discussing. Once you participate, whoever comments last when the alarm goes off will win a Declan Rice signed captain's armbands. We've got another 2 of these to give away on Patreon in February as well. So there you go. Someone is winning this evening. And I've got another prize, but we'll do that a little bit later on. Gonzo, would you like to get our next guest on?
Oh, I thought you could say, would you like to hear West Ham just signed? Okay, let's have our next guest instead.
Nick, how you doing?
And mate,
I'm very well. Let me just shrink my head. 1 minute. There we go. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, hello. Professional.
There we go. See?
We normally just move backwards and forwards.
No, I'm too lazy for that. I'm too lazy for that.
That's all I can do. I can only just move about as well. I wonder what
I'm
you
trying
said
to line myself.
when you said I'm going to shrink my head. I thought, what's he? I thought it was like a
No, he's
joke
got
or
me
something.
paranoid. There you go. Look at that. Hey. Oh,
There we
look,
go,
this is
see?
beautiful. We got a
There you go.
spirit level or something.
I know. And I don't know what went on, because I went backstage and the last 3 guys that was on, it was like someone was talking underwater. I thought everything had gone skew with. Oh, right, okay.
Your hair is like mine should look. Yours is like a better version. Yours is like a professional version of mine. Just
It's
more of
going.
it.
I'm getting thinner.
Yeah.
I'm getting thinner and thinner all the time. Just got to embrace it, ain't you? Embrace it.
When we last had Nick on Gonzo, I said to Nick, that's what mine's going to look like in 10 years.
That's right.
I can see my hairstyle from the future.
Yeah.
Nick. Well,
It's not
like
too
Nick's
bad. It
like
could be
yours.
worse. It could be worse.
Yeah, we know. Look at it. It's there.
Poor Gonzo.
I'm just joking. Anyway, Nick is from Clan and Booze. If you don't already know, excellent West Ham YouTube channel. Go check it out and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Nick, no new signings. Danny Ings, obviously, but in the last 24 to 48 hours, no new signings. What's one's reaction?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, but I am surprised, if that makes sense. It's a combination of both. I wasn't expecting us to sign anyone. I don't think that. Well, obviously, I said at the start of the window, with the position that David Moyes is in, with what happened in the summer, I think they'd have been mental to have given him any more money. But then you think, well, hang on a minute, if you're going to stick with him, then you've got to back him, haven't you? You know, because surely the main aim here is to stay in the Premier League, and you've got a guy that's struggling. I know we beat Derby, and it was good. It was a good game last night. But you know, it's all about the Premier League, isn't it? At the moment, and I'm surprised when you look at the intent that the other teams down there are showing at the moment. It's quite worrying, really. You know, I think Everton haven't signed anyone though, have they? I thought that they might after selling Gordon. I thought they might sign someone, but no. Like I say, I'm not surprised. It's kind of very much what's that 2 January transfer windows now, where we've desperately needed players for different reasons. Last season it was for last January it was for a different reason to this one, and all we've done is we've signed Danny Ings. Which
Jesse Lingard as well.
Jesse, that weren't last January though.
No, but you said 3 Januaries.
Oh, sorry. So I meant the last two Januaries. So yeah, no, I'm just a bit deflated with it all, to be honest. I am. I think it's bad. And if heaven forbid, I think you might have said this the other day, Gonzo, and you kind of mirrored what I said in the show before as well. And that was because I couldn't believe, even though I don't trust Sullivan, I couldn't believe that they were really going to ride this January transfer window out just so that they could get away without spending and then sack him. I couldn't get that through my head that was what they was trying to do. But if they do let him go after losing to Newcastle or Chelsea, it kind of proves that that's what they've done.
Yes, it's because the trouble is with doing that, Nick, is you apply your own logic, your own sound logic, and try and apply it to what you would do in that situation. Well, don't worry. You know, I do, because I think why would you do that? It's the worst of both worlds, isn't it?
I don't understand. I honestly don't understand how you can't not do that though. Like when you say we'll be losing the sacking, they're not going to do that. I'm telling you now. If we lose on Saturday, Moyes will be here for the next game.
I think he will.
No, why would he? Listen, in 2023 so far, we won 3 of our 5 and only lost 1. And I know you're going to say it was against Derby and Brentford reserves and everything. I agree with that. But my point, I'm looking at it how I think the board look at it, which is we've won 3 and drawn 1 of our last 5. He's turning things around. That's how I think they will look at it. And they'll go Newcastle, potential Champions League team in the Carabao Cup final. You can lose that game. Chelsea at home, well, they're pretty good. You can lose that. Spurs, well, you can lose that one. It's the Forest one is the next one for me, which is the Moyes decider. We keep resetting that win against Everton, reset that counter. We're back to...
It's an absolute joke.
We were coming
I've had enough, honestly. They're all they are the mirror image of each other. This is the thing. It's a match made in hell. It really is. They basically they run the football club in the same way that Moyes manages it. It's without any sort of insight and without any sort of vibrancy at all. They're just very, very stuck in their ways. Basically, they are the owner equivalent of what Moyes is as manager, basically.
How can there not be any panic coming from them at the moment? This is what I don't understand. Because yes, he's fair enough. We're doing well in the Europa Conference League. We've just won in the FA Cup. But you look, we are in such a precarious position at the moment. We've got 3 awful games coming up that nobody really expects us to win. I don't believe that they expect us to win them. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. We could nick something from them. But the likelihood is we're going to be going into our 24th game in the bottom 3. Because we've lost these 3 games, which are probably, I think they're nailed on defeats. And then at some point, Moyes isn't going to, it will happen. Moyes will lose one of these must-win games. But the trouble is that the more into the season that you get, I mean, you're going to be on 24 games then. There's going to be a gap. There's going to be a separation in the league, isn't there? You're going to have probably 14th upwards are going to start pulling away. And then you're locked in. You're locked into that kind of, that little relegation battle probably for the rest of the season, and then it gets incredibly difficult. And like I say, I've got no faith in David Moyes, and I think that they probably would get rid of him at that point. I think if he was to lose these 3 games and then Forest, but how pathetic! Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, he shouldn't still be here. We shouldn't be in this position, or they should have backed him and given him some money to spend and given him some reinforcements, done something. You know, We've done nothing. We've done nothing.
That's my biggest frustration. I always say back or sack. You back him or sack him.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I think of the manager. It doesn't really matter what you two think or the live chat. It's irrelevant what we think of David Moyes, whether he should be here or not. The backing him is a completely separate matter, in my opinion. And if you don't want to back him because you're uncertain, then you've already decided that he probably shouldn't be here. So then go ahead with it and get rid of him, get somebody in that you will back. But while he's here, I think you have to give him as much reinforcement as possible, give him all the tools possible to succeed. But I'll tell you what my video is for tomorrow. This transfer window has been preparation for relegation. You won't change my mind on it. It is. It's preparing to get relegated. 5 years ago today, we signed Jordan Hugo. Now, as fun as that video was, and as funny as the stream was when all the Preston fans rocked up saying thanks for the money, you've been mugged off, he's not even our best striker, that was preparing to get relegated. Everything I've seen in this window so far from West Ham points in one direction, and that is safety net. In case
do you believe that?
Yeah.
You do? Oh,
do you want my reasonings now?
Go on.
In Championship, who's the perfect striker in the Championship? Danny Ings.
Championship, Danny Ings, yeah.
Selling Craig Dawson, selling Darren Randolph, get the money in now. Well, you can't. Randolph, we're not getting a fee for, but we're saving £1 million on his wages. Why? You don't need to get rid of Darren. We're saving £1 million. We're now dithering. We're thinking that £1 million, we need that. We're going to have that. The best example, Connor Coventry. Activate that 1 year clause and loan him out. Why have you done that? Because you might need him in the Championship next season. We don't expect Connor Coventry to be playing Premier League football next season. Now, the only counter argument I will accept is to retain his value so we can sell him in the summer. But how much is he really worth? £500,000, £1 million at the most?
Would we have released all those youngsters though? Don't forget in Ashby.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
You know, I think because a lot of them that do well. It's like what we just had Anton on earlier. You know, they get a chance when they get down there to release. At least say Equa.
The only player that you can use in that argument is Equa.
Or Longelo.
His contract was
Longelo as well. Yeah.
Contract was expiring.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they could get him to sign a new one. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, I'd listen. I'd bloody just hope you're wrong, really.
I do. I mean, that's
why I feel.
But by that logic, they've signed Danny Ings because he would be the perfect striker for the Championship. Worst case scenario, I mean, they're not going to think that David Moyes is the best manager for the Championship, are they?
They couldn't even let him.
Fucking hell.
If he took us down, he must not. I can't even believe we're talking this way.
I know.
But they cannot. They must not let him. I mean, I want them all gone. To be fair, if we go down, they all need to go. The board, and the manager will both. They will all need to go.
But you've got this, as you've spoken about numerous times, Gonzo. This embarrassment clause. We've got. They want to sell the club. Surely this is going to hammer. It's going to if we get relegated. It's going to hammer the value of the club. It's going to, it's surely they should be in a state of panic. They should be pulling out all the stops to try and keep us in the league. I understand what you're saying, Gio, and you're probably right. And it would probably be wrong if they weren't preparing for the Championship in our current situation. But there's preparing for it, and then there's inviting it on. From what you're saying, it's almost like they're I don't know, because they're not trying to avoid it, are they? It's almost like keep calm and carry on. We'll be all right. And I don't know. I don't know why they're being calm.
It's like someone wants to buy your car and they've offered you some money for it. You think I'll sell that in a couple of months, but I might crash it in the meantime. I can have that money, please. No, you can't have the money. You've crashed the car. I'll buy another car.
I know.
You crashing your Ferrari, Nick.
So who do you think are going to be? So give it 5 or 6 games, right? Who do you think are going to be the bottom 6 teams? Can you see Southampton with the money that they're looking at spending now? Do you think that they'll start to pull out? Do you think Everton?
I think
might
they'll still be down. I think Southampton will still be in there.
Yeah.
I think just earlier on, I said I watched the first half of the Newcastle game tonight. Then we went live. I was pleased with what I saw. I mean, Newcastle terrify me, but from what I saw from Southampton's perspective, I was pretty happy because I thought Nathan Jones made a really big error with that lineup, that formation to go to St James. 1-0 down in the semi-final as well. That was a very strange thing. And I was almost relieved. I thought, oh, thank God there's a manager, because Southampton were almost doing okay the last couple of games, beating Man City, and then they've gone and done that tonight. I thought, whew, that's a relief. Have they signed a striker? I assume they haven't signed a striker.
They're linked with a couple, apparently. I don't know whether they're going to get announced, but they haven't signed anyone yet.
Not. If not, that would be good. I know they've brought in Orsic, who's more of a sort of second striker kind of player.
Arsic.
What's his name?
That sounds like one of Gonzo's made up names. That does. Is that his name?
Arsic. Like itching your ass.
Orsic.
Oh, Orsic.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
I'd answer me.
Hang on a minute. They've signed him. They've signed
Paul Onuachu.
Have they actually signed
Is he
him?
that tall one? He's that tall one.
Yeah, the 6'8" player.
I'm
sure I saw that before I came on. He's like 8 foot tall, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6'8". Okay, well, a lot of people are saying they have actually signed. Oh, okay, so they've got a striker now. So
Hold on, I tell you what, Ward-Prowse corner, Bosh.
Yeah, I know.
You can see that being the tactics, but I think Southampton will still be in there. I think Bournemouth will still. I know they spent money. I think they'll still be in there. I think Everton are in deep trouble. Dyche will make them tough to beat, but it doesn't mean they'll win games.
No.
That's two different things. I think Crystal Palace are going to get dragged right in there. I know they've gone and signed that midfielder today, but he's only 20, and I've seen a bit of him from Stuttgart, and he looks good, but I'm not convinced by Crystal Palace at all. I think they're going to get sucked in.
I'm surprised Palace are where they are.
Yeah, I think they're going to come down a little bit. I think Leeds have got a bit of bollocks about them. Whenever I watch Leeds, they've got a little bit of fight. I quite like that.
And some
Leicester
quality as well. Yeah.
are in trouble. I assume Suter's gone through. Good signing, if so.
They've lost 4 of their last 5, Leicester. Just looking at it.
Yeah, they are getting Maddison back though, but then we can't say that about Leicester and then not apply it to a Gerrard and West Ham. You know what I mean? If you say, well, Maddison's back, Leicester will be okay. Well, Gerrard's back now, so West Ham will be fine by that token. So
Leicester's upcoming games, because we did a sort of a Premier League predictor on the show that we did the other night, just to see what would happen, after the next 3 games. And I just felt sorry for Leicester. They've got to go to Villa away, then they've got to play Tottenham, Man United, and Arsenal. They're not getting out of that anytime soon.
Yeah, but
that's their next 4 games.
Into it. And Wolves have made some good signings in the January transfer windows. I think they'll be okay, but we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, it's a big kind of relegation battle, isn't it? At the moment, it's not only us down there. It doesn't make it any better, but. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm confused as to why we haven't made any signings, particularly at centre back. Can you? I mean, do we have a centre back that doesn't have a history of injury problems?
Declan Rice.
Yeah. And the thing is that the other thing as well, which people overlook sometimes, we've got an awful February. So February's bad. It might not be. We might get some results down there, but I think Nottingham Forest is right at the end of it. And then once we go into March, we're then hamstrung when you compare our fixture list to the rest of the teams in that little division, because we've got the European games. We're doing Thursday, Sunday nights all of a sudden. So we've also got that pressure as well, and of course we've got the FA Cup.
I wonder if this stuff is even remotely discussed with the detail that you're just talking about there at the top level. I don't think it is. I suspect it's not at all. I don't think there's a cerebral way of looking at any of this stuff. I do think it's hope for the best, and it's hope that David Moyes can somehow rekindle whatever was going on a couple of years ago. And I'm not even sure that they know what was going on a couple of years ago.
No, it's week by week, isn't it?
Right. Sorry, Nick, I'm going to have to wrap up. We've got our next guest waiting.
No
There's
worries,
another
mate.
guest
No
after
worries.
him. But Nick, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
That's fine,
Hope
mate.
you feel better soon. I know you've been suffering with a cold, and we can hear it as well.
It's not just a cold, Geo.
No.
It's man flu.
Man
right?
flu.
Yes.
The worst. Well, I
we wish you well. Well, hopefully we'll see you again. We're worried now. We're concerned.
Yeah. All right, cheers, gents.
See you, mate.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you. Right, are you ready for the next one?
Yes, indeed. Bring him forth.
Stell, how you doing?
Good evening to you guys. How are you? I've just been listening to that, and I feel depressed already.
Yeah.
Have you got anything cheery? Have you brought some good news?
We have signed someone. Kenny Brown is going to become permanent manager of the academy.
Oh, wow! There you go.
That's about it.
Happy days.
And apparently we're trying to beat Newcastle to that 17-year-old Sean Moore. But that's really it. There's not much more to it than
fattening him up for Sunderland, basically.
Well, yeah, the Equa thing. I mean, it's interesting because and it's all about how many young players we've lost. The irony for me is losing Equa. I kind of accepted Ashby because he was going to go in the summer, from what we hear, and we held back. And I kind of guess we were hoping that he was going to change his mind. But Ekwa looks like a player that might become a good player in the future. I'm kind of disappointed with that. And we're hearing tonight that Longello's about to go permanently to Birmingham. So it's
we
more
haven't
people going
discussed
out.
that. We haven't really discussed Longelo, so we'll do that. But before we do that, Stelios has a YouTube channel called West Ham Voice, so do go check out. If you haven't done so already, just Google it on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, get the notifications on, and all that good stuff. Go show your support to Stella. Great content. But
Thank you.
Let's do the Longelo talk then. Gonzo, I've not heard your opinion on it. Off to Birmingham City, £400,000. What's your reaction?
Well, when we played Dynamo Zagreb last season, and he played all the youngsters in the final group game, a lot of people said Longelo was the best player on it. I didn't think he was. I actually thought Elise and Ashby were a bit better than him, but I will concede he had a very, very good game. Okay, and I thought he was very, very good. However, you know what that means? Okay, I clicked on it as soon as that went off.
Thank you. I wonder why you clicked on it for a second.
The reason I clicked on
I'm thinking,
that's my alarm. I'm gonna stop myself mid-flow. I'm gonna stop the alarm. Most importantly, there you go.
Gina, you've won this. It's a signed Declan Rice Premier League captain's armband. Gina, you've won it. Please email us hammerchat@gmail.com and we'll get that sent out to you. Well done, Gina.
Well done, Gina. There you go. Anyway, thank you. Nobody's. I don't think anyone's teased me about my alarm anyway. Who cares? So regardless, he had a very good game. He was in the top couple of players in that game. Okay, I think he's okay. All right, I think he's okay. I don't think he's a world beater. I don't look at him in the same way that I look at Ashby. I think Ashby's a massive mistake. All right, and I hate the way that Moyes has spun it. That hold on, we couldn't get him to sign a new deal. No, you should have been incorporating. You know, we featured him on his channel 3 years ago. It was really, really clear he was going to be a good player. All right, so he should have been a regular first team by now or whatever. At 50 appearances under his belt. I don't view Longelo as exactly the same. I'm not convinced he's going to come back and embarrass us. But unfortunately, what it does do, it adds. And if it was just Longelo, I wouldn't even be talking about it. I'd say, oh, that's a shame. We'd probably be sat here saying good luck to him in his career. But it ain't. It's this purge. We're hemorrhaging these young players. Kenny Brown had just come in to run the academy. What's the bloody point? Because at the moment, they're just not. There is even an argument. I never want to say this, whether we should be running one at all. That's how bad it is. So yeah, I'm disappointed about Longelo, but as part of the collective.
Do you not think the whole Ashby thing, though? I mean, we hear so many the stories that have been knocking around that apparently. It depends on what you want to believe, but apparently his head was turned in the summertime. We tried to get him to sign a contract.
Yeah, but that's fine. But that's very, very recent. Sorry to interrupt yourself. Sure. Yes, you can take that most recent view of it. But before it got to the summertime, he should have been being drip fed into the team 2 seasons before that.
I agree.
And that's the problem. And actually, it is a collective thing. He's looked at all the others. He just thought, I'm not getting a chance here. So actually, and this is the narrative they want. And actually, Geo will tell you this. I said it on our Patreon group chat. I said this the other day. I said, here's the narrative that David Moore's come out with. Oh, we had to let him go so he wouldn't sign a new deal. Well, no, that actually only that's the arse end of the story. The truth of the matter is, he wouldn't sign a new deal because you didn't offer him any sort of incentive. It didn't matter how crap people were. It didn't matter when people were out of form or injured. There was no pathway into that first team. There were no set of circumstances, not just him either, no set of circumstances that were going to mean that he played in that first team, even if it was 10 minutes as a sub. And it's stuff like that. Gio will often mention this. Gio, we'll look at, and Gio will say, well, I'm quite happy with the team, but surely there's room for a youngster or two on the bench. That's what you get. You reap what you sow. And what he's sown was not having youngsters on the bench, not introducing them for 10 minutes here or then. And the next time it's 20 minutes. And next time I'm stuck, I'll play Ashby in that game. He basically, as I mentioned earlier, he ain't 16. He's in his early 20s. And I think that's the point is not what happened from the summer to now. The crime is what happened up until the summer that allowed this situation to manifest.
I remember a couple of seasons ago when he played Odebeko and he played him in the Man United game, brought him on as a sub. And then it was criminal because he brought him off at extra time and he ruined it. He basically, that you could see the lad was quite destroyed by that. And I think Moyes sometimes has in the back of his mind, oh, well, that happened, so maybe I better not take a risk with other players. It's like last night against Derby, I was crying out for, I'm actually surprised that Mbama got 15 minutes because I genuinely thought he'd come on, because I was kept looking at my watch and looking at the bench and thinking he's going to come on, he's going to come on, he's going to come on. And then Lanzini came on, and then finally, you know, Mbama came on, and it was good. But it would be nice if Moyes gave the youngsters a chance. But given the current predicament that he took the club over in, and the current predicament we're in now, kind of get why he won't do it. But I agree with you, Gonzo. In between, we've had good times. We've had good times, and he could have introduced them sooner.
And it's him. It's his words that he modelled himself on Sir Alex Ferguson. I'll tell you what, Alex Ferguson did not behave in the way that Moyes behaves. And actually, that example you've got, I guarantee, if he'd have asked before the game, spoken to his mentor, "Oh, do you think I should bring a youngster on, then sub him off in the same game?" Fergie would have said, "No way, no way, you don't do that."
What about the coaches for the under-21s and the under-18s? He must be speaking to them on a regular basis. They must be telling him who they think is, you know, could make it, who they think won't make it. Do you think he takes any advice from what they might tell him, or do you think he's just his own man?
No, like we literally spoke to Dimitri on this channel, the former under-23s manager, and he said, and to be fair to him, he said either Moyes, but usually Nolan, there's always somebody from Moyes' coaching team at the game, always. There'd always be someone there. So Moyes always had representation there. It's just not even like he had to listen to the under-23s coaches. He would sometimes be there, or he'd have someone there on behalf of him to do the scouting. And sometimes they would get involved. They would say to Dimitri, "We want to see Ashby playing right midfield. Can you move him up for the second half?" And they would do it. "Yeah, no problem, Gaffer, we'll do that." If Moyes gave instructions still in the 23s, they would put that in place so that Moyes could have a look at player X in position Y. They would do it. So the evidence is there. The interest is there. And at times, the under-23s have said to David Moyes, "You should be doing this or you should be doing that." And when the Elise thing came out about Stamford Bridge, it was pretty much then that we did the video with Dimitri, and he was saying Elise is ready. So Elise is ready to step into that centre-back role. Moyes should be using him. Moyes needs to use him. I hope Moyes uses him. Elise is ready to go. He said it's not just as a player, as a man. Elise is ready to go as a man. He's mentally fit for Stamford Bridge, and he didn't get his opportunity.
Who are you talking about that said that? It was Geo?
Dimitri.
Yes, that's right, because we also interviewed Tony Carr, and when we spoke to Tony Carr, we said to Tony, you still got your hand in. He said, "Well, I speak to Kevin Keane," and he speaks to a few people. I said, "Who are the most outstanding youngsters coming through?" He said, "Perkins and Elise." He said, "Very, very good." He said, "I popped down a couple of times to go and watch training and stuff like that." But just in answer, I don't think it's not just the youth coach he doesn't listen to. I don't think he listens to his coaches. There's no way that someone on that touchline during games doesn't say, make a substitution now, mate. I don't think he listens to anyone at all. So I think it's a big part of the problem. Does not take advice on well, I think.
Let's go back to the Longella one quickly, Stal. What did you make of that deal?
I think it's disappointing, because I think the reason why both him and the other player that went to Swansea, his name's gone, the reason why they went to championship teams was to get game time. And I thought, well, if you're going to go to a championship team to get game time, there must be a chance. And I think, Okoflex is now back. He wasn't being used that much at Swansea anyway. But Longelo started the season pretty well for Birmingham. I think he played something like 14 games, but they've got something like six players on loan. You can only use 5 at any one time. So he had a couple of bad games and he got dropped. And now I think the solution looks like buy him permanently. We can use him anytime. And it's a shame, really. And I get what you're saying, Gonzo. Ashby certainly is the one that stood out. To be honest, I rate Mbama more than I rated Perkins. I think Mbama's gonna make it. It looks like he will. But I also thought Longelo was a decent shout, especially when we're crying out for a left back, because clearly he's not happy anymore with Creswell. Creswell came on for a couple of minutes last night, but it's evident that we're going to be playing 5 at the back, so he uses wing backs rather than playing Creswell as a left back, because he's the only left back we've got, unless he puts Ben Johnson there. So I was surprised that Longelo, given the fact that he started quite well, I'm surprised that we maybe even didn't call him back or halfway through the loan spell. So for him to go permanently, it's a shame, really.
I'm actually okay with it, truth be told. I think you've got to judge every deal and every player separate, really. Rather than the problem is at the minute we are bundling it all into one because we've just seen Ashby, Ekwa, and now Longella leave. It's hard not to look and go, "What the hell is happening to the academy?" Right? It's difficult to do that. And if Ashby and Ekwa hadn't happened, it was just Longella. I think there'd be a lot less
People would have
upset
been
because
left,
I agree.
because Will Greener just left Colchester as well, and nobody's banging on the table saying, "Hang on, what about him?" Because everybody's accepted he's probably not good enough and he's not going to make it at West Ham. So it's the right thing for him to go to Colchester, and it's the right thing for West Ham to cash in on him. And I think the same is the same with Longella personally. He's 22 years old. He's not young. If he was at West Ham, we would have had to register him because he isn't under the 21 bracket. So he would have taken up a squad place, which there was one available. So he could have had it. But also, I don't think he would have got any opportunities here. And he played well against Zagreb. I think he got the official man of match for that game as well. But I have to say, when I saw him, I was relatively impressed, but I wasn't blown away. And I think when you play for the under-21s, you've got to get blown away by a player. Otherwise, they're probably not going to make it. So I'm actually okay selling Longella. It's not 400 grand isn't much money. But if you take a little bit of that, you take a little bit from Greenwich, you take a bit from Ashby. I mean, that's the academy paid for the next 12 months, isn't it? Everything that we do at the academy is justified. Buying, what's the player's name? Is that we're looking from Northern Ireland style? What's the
Sean
Moore.
It would do, that's him paid for because of Longella and Greenwich leaving, and it's like brilliant. You know, Carl Marshall's fees been paid because Longella's left, and I'm all for bringing in young players and then deciding pretty quickly when they hit 2021 if they're going to make it or not. If not, sell them, put on the sell
That's the
on
point,
clause.
isn't it? Yeah, the point is if they're not around the first team by about 19, you know, they're not sniffing around the first team.
The only problem with that style is you need a manager that's going to put them in the first team at 19.
Yeah. Well, that's the other issue.
I think that's the problem, isn't it? Usually by that age you can tell if they're good enough or not.
I think all eyes are on Mbama now, you know, because if he starts staying in the squad and starts getting more game time, that might be a bit of a sort of a saviour for Moyes in terms of how he looks at the youth setup. But if we don't see any more of Mbama until 3 minutes to go in the fifth round against Man United, if we don't see anything of him between now and then you know that Moyes is going to revert to type again. I'd like now to see Mbama. He made an interesting comment in the interview the other day, didn't he? When he talked about Mbama, he said, "I want to use him. I'd like to use him. He's not quite ready, and I want to, but I'm not sure if I'm going to." And it's like, well, mate, he's either good enough, for you to have him in the first team squad, even if he's on the subs bench, and like you said, Gonzo, get him in. Okay, play him maybe 5 minutes, and then the next game another 5.
And he might score a goal. He scores a goal, and then his confidence goes up.
If you're chasing the game, who knows what a player like him might be able to come on and do?
But I would say to that Moore, that the lad who might be thinking of signing for us from Ireland, don't.
But we've actually signed some good prospects, Callum Marshall, etc. A couple of Irish lads, Patrick Kelly and so on. And so. I mean, I don't know. It's like
they won't make it through under this manager. I would advise them to go elsewhere. I really would.
Anyway, Stel, before we let you disappear, the live chat been asking everybody the same question, so we're going to ask it to you. Do you think West Ham will get relegated?
No, I think it'll be tight. It won't be pretty. We know what Moyes is going to do between now and the rest of the season. He's more or less said it. We're going to revert to type. He'll probably play whatever you want to call it, a 3-4-2-1, 5-4-1 formation, probably for the rest of the season. We'll get away from it. We will. And I know people are crying out at the moment. They're saying, well, everybody else around us has improved their squads, etc., etc. We've actually got a half decent squad that should get us out of this situation. I was hoping that we'd get a defender in. I was hoping if at least a centre back or at least a left back to get us through. But the squad, I don't want to say it, but the squad's too good to go down.
Oh, Stel, don't worry. I'm completely all for that. I always say it's a myth. When people say no team's too good to go down, I always say, well, 90% of cases they are too good. There is some teams, we know that better than anyone. There is some teams that go down and think, whoa, they shouldn't have gone down. but they're few and far between. Normally, the good teams, the teams that are better, tend to stay up because all you need is an adequate manager. You don't need a world-class manager. You just need a manager that's competent, and they'll keep us up. And I agree. When you look at the West Ham team, we have a good squad, and the only thing that calms me down a little bit in regards to not spending in this window is we spent our money in the summer. Those other teams didn't spend that money in the summer. They're just spending it now. So I'm thinking, right, okay, if anything, we're one step ahead of them because we've already done.
And they've had 6 months to bed in. They've had 6 months to bed in, according to Moyes. So they should be, fit and ready to go for the second half of this season.
Bar Cornet,
apart from injuries.
Bar Cornet, I think most of them have settled in now. We're seeing Emerson improving, Paqueta's improving. Scamacca's got worse, but we'll leave him to one side. Agard looks a Rolls Royce of a centre back as well. I think the bedding in process is occurring. The evidence is there, bar Maxwell Cornet, but we shall wait and see.
Great.
Right, Stel, well, thank you very much for joining us. A pleasure as always. Look after yourself and don't be a stranger.
Likewise. Cheers.
See you soon, mate. Thank you. Bye.
West Ham Voice, if you want to check him out on YouTube. Gonzo, it's time for our final guest. It's not the last person, though, but it's our final guest.
Yes, it's time to become enlightened, I feel.
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to make an apology to Jack, because Jack was due on at 9:45, and he was sitting there, nice and patiently. In the background, quietly waiting, listening to Anton and Perry. Still listening to Anton and Perry. Me and Gonzo were listening to Anton and Perry as well. So we had to postpone Jack's arrival. So here he is, an hour late. Jack, thank you very much for being patient with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
You're most welcome. Yeah, I think you could have probably put me in the corner of the screen, just introduced me, and then taken me out again and moved on to the next section without ever allowing me to come in.
We need to talk tactics, my friends. That's what we need to talk. We need you here.
I didn't want to squeeze Jack in because this is we now don't have a time limit. With all the other guests, we've had a time limit. With Jack, it's not like 11 p.m. we've got to go kind of thing. Live chat, get your questions in because Jack is the brainy one. Me and Gonzo are the knee-jerk emotional ones. Jack is the emotionless one who takes a different view of the game with his analysis. He does a podcast over on Patreon every single week called Hammerlytics with Charlie. It's very, very good, very, very popular with the patrons as well. We're going to give you a free episode this week or next week so you can get your eyes on it and decide. Try before you buy. That was a good TV show back in the day. Do you remember that one when they went and looked at the houses?
No.
Not me.
I thought it was just something they said at I was going to say, actually, it's not a supermarket. You can't walk into a supermarket and just start eating an apple, can you? Actually, I don't fancy buying this now.
It was a property show. I think it was with that Sarah who did Sarah Beanie who did another property. I love Sarah Beanie, but she did Try Before You Buy. I think it was her.
I've not heard of Sarah Beanie on a show.
Say you two wanted to buy a house. She'll take you to 3 houses that's up for sale, and you go that one, and you go sleep in it for a night.
Oh, nice. Is there a bed in it? Oh, I'll just sleep on the floorboards.
Oh, you try the house out, don't you?
Oh, fair enough.
So,
excellent. I'll give it a watch. Particularly if Sarah Beanie, who I've never heard of before, is in it.
Do you want to buy this house? No, the bed's crap. Never mind. Right, okay, Jack. Nick says, what is one position we should have strengthened?
Well, probably the fullback areas. I would have been looking at a fullback that can play wing back. That would have been sort of my priority, I guess. Striker became a necessity because of Scamacca's injury, and we had to go out and get a striker. But the other position I would have been really looking at would have been an offensive fullback, because I think we've really wanted to be able to utilise back three more this season. I think it's probably something that we're going to be utilising a lot in the second half of the season. And one of the major limitations of that system so far, although we've seen some positive signs from Emerson recently, has been the lack of contribution in the final third from the wing backs.
Jack, Scamacca fit turns over season round? Question. That is the question. He was flying at the beginning of the season. Remember that cheeky chip he did at London Stadium was oozing in confidence.
He's a superb player, and his quality means that he will score goals. But until we are able to tailor our system to him, he will be scoring goals in spite of the tactics rather than because of the tactics. And we haven't really seen a move in the right direction for him much this season. I would say that I think a lot of that has been down to the fact that we haven't seen Agard, Zuma, and Skamaka all on the pitch at the same time. I think if we did see that, I think there would be a chance of us seeing a change in approach.
Sorry, Agard, Skamaka, and who?
Zuma.
Okay.
I think one of the key things to be able to get the best out of him would be to have two players that are very comfortable on the ball at the back and very confident bringing it out and building up. Without that, you very easily end up punting the ball long to him, which doesn't really maximize his ability. And so long as we were doing that, I don't think he would be an individual that would be able to come in and go on a hot streak to turn things around, because I think, as we've seen a lot this season, really his goals have come being sort of sensational strikes from outside the box or whatever, rather than us really getting him into the best positions and creating chances for him.
Would a back three help him, do you think?
Potentially. I mean, there are ways of playing a back three that could really work for him, but it's about getting the right players around him. I think, I think we've thankfully seen a move to being able to play Paquetá in a midfield two with the back three. So yeah, back three with Agard and Zuma on either side, both comfortable coming out with the ball. We saw against Derby, Agard on one occasion actually driving all the way up the left flank and crossing. Yeah. Two centre backs that can really step out and overlap and interchange with the wing backs. Really, really confident on the ball. Particularly Agard would be able to play direct passes straight into Skamaka. You'd have two players that could go inside either side of him. Probably Cornet and Bowen in that situation. Then you could see a system that would really get the best out of him. I think we just really struggled. I think we've been quite unfortunate with injuries, and then different players being injured at the wrong time. Almost like we haven't been able to knit together partnerships that would really, really help us, because one player's come back and the other one's got injured. So that's really negatively affected us and affected the tactical flexibility we've been allowed to have this season.
I keep saying we've still not seen Moyes' strongest 11 yet because of Agard's injury, now Cornet's injury. I think both of them would be Moyes' ideal 11. Skamaka's obviously injured. Agard's come back. Skamaka's injured as well. So we've still not seen David Moyes' first choice 11 yet. And we're in February.
Precisely.
We might not see it this season, what he wanted to do. We might never see it. Just quickly, before we do 2 more questions. Johnny, thank you very much for the 179. He's asking Gina to swap 2 Fedos for the armband, and Scott for the 179 as well. So I've got 8 minutes to get a wing back in. Well, I've got 3 minutes now, Scott, but thank you very much. And Liam, you're correct. It was called To Buy or Not to Buy, the property show.
And I was probably watching In the Night Garden at the time.
Yes.
Mate, you need to get on More 4. It'll be on there or something. There's always programs like that on More 4.
I'd rather watch In the Night Garden. I'm more interested in what Iggle Piggle's doing, quite frankly.
Anyway, back to the questions for Jack. Doug says, Jack, is the tactical issues we are suffering tactical issues or managers' issues, as in, are the tactics we play unusable?
I think tactics issues or manager issues is sort of the same thing. I mean, that's primarily what the manager is doing on a match day, is setting up the team in the right way to be able to get a positive result. I don't think tactically we've been inept at all. I think there's been a lack of positive solutions in the time we were without Agard. I think that run, sort of from after the difficult run where the Chelsea Spurs games happened, I thought we were okay in those. I thought we played, I think there were good performances but bad results in the Liverpool and Man United games. I think it was the period after that, and also the first 3 games of the season, you were looking at and saying, it doesn't seem like we've really got an idea about how to, have a step in between what we were doing last season and what we want to do this season without Agard. There was no sort of planning around what we might do if that would happen. And that led to constantly changing 11s, different ways of approaching, playing often very similar ways, but different ways of doing it. And none of them really worked for us. And that's led us to where we are now. I wouldn't say it's been tactical ineptitude. I just think that there's been a sort of lack of consistency, partly injuries, partly tactical, that sort of not really allowed anyone to develop sort of positive relationships or gel in the way that you'd want them to.
Jack, we've got a big question which will give you a big role. Mulch is asking if you will join Gonzo in the bong in about 30 seconds time.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, well, in Gonzo bongs, you have to bong as well.
I can't remember
Gonzo bongs at 11.
I can't remember our bongs last year.
I don't know, but you can bong this year. You've got about 30 seconds and you're going to need to bong, all right? But before you bong, Andy's asking, what's gone wrong with Bowen this season? Before the last few games, I would imagine his stats have fallen away.
I think we tried to slightly change the way that we use the ball. And Bowen's very used to having a huge amount of space in behind to attack. You see the way we played in the first half against Derby. You see the way we played against Everton. You see goals from Bowen. I don't think that's a surprise. I think that's because Antonio's in the team and because we're sitting off and attacking from deeper positions. That means there's a huge amount of space for him to make diagonal runs from the wing in behind the striker. And it creates the situations from which he profits most. So I just think we slightly changed the way that we wanted to play. He has to be a little bit more creative. He has to be a little bit more inventive. He has to play against set defenses more often. I mean, the Southampton game is a really good example. The Brentford game most recently in the league is another good example where you're asking him to do something completely different to what he did last season and perform so well at. I think he's good enough to do that. I just think that he'll need time to adapt and be able to perform at his best level doing that. I also think that there will come a time where Scamacca and him could have a really, really good relationship. But I did speak on this show, on the deadline show for the summer window, and said that Scamacca is used to having players go past him on his left side, on the left side rather than the right side. And that adaptation, being able to kind of reverse those movements would take some time for Scamacca. And we just haven't really seen enough time for those two to develop that partnership yet.
Bong.
Oh, bong.
There you go. You got your double bong. We've got some more questions for you. Jack Hammer 1999 says, would you prefer to see Johnson a right centre back and Kerr right wing back, or Kerr right centre back and Johnson right wing back?
Can I say neither? Is that all right?
What would you be if you've got to play wing backs? Then what would you do?
Probably play Soufal. No, I mean, have I missed something, or is Soufal?
No, you can't play Soufal. Who would you play right centre back then, Kerr or Johnson?
I think that's a really difficult choice. I think Johnson is more secure defensively. I think even in the Derby game, Kerr still made his two catastrophic errors. Minute one, he literally let Tom Barkhuizen get in behind him, and you're thinking, like, what is this guy doing? And then later in the second half, he nutmegs Areola and nearly plays Spring It Through to tap into an open net.
Honestly.
So I think, look, he has so many things about him that are really positive. He brings that comfortability on the ball. Even in this match, he's playing line breaking passes. He is really good when he's stepping out of the defense. So the back three allows him to kind of step out and press higher. He's really quite good at anticipating moments where he could make a pressure and win the ball out of the back line. But aerial duels, defending the back post, and just having composure under pressure, not on the ball, but when the ball is landing at your feet from a cross or from a ball forward, he terrifies me. Johnson, I think, would do all of those things well, but you'd lose all of the progressive capability. So for me, I think it depends on the way in which you look at the game. So if you're going to Newcastle and saying you want to open up at times, be progressive and try and take the game to them, then you play Kerr. If you're going there and saying we're going to play very much a 5-4-1, lock it down and play for a 0-0, then 100% I would play Johnson at right centre back over him.
The one thing I will say about Jarrod Bowen, I think away from the pitch, he himself has spoken about how trying to get into the World Cup squad placed a lot of pressure and gave him anxiety, essentially. And I don't think you can underestimate that impact it would have on somebody, especially when he's not used to it. He just got into the England squad 12 months before, not even 12 months before that. He was in the Nations League squad at the end of the season, and he got into the one around September, but he didn't get used. He wasn't even on the bench for one of those games. A bit like Ivan Toney, really. Southgate didn't utilise him. And I don't think you can sort of just go, oh, well, that doesn't really matter. I think the toll it must have taken on him would have been immense. The fact that he was on the verge of going to a World Cup with England, literally 3 years ago, he was in the Championship with Hull City. So it's such a huge step up for him. And when somebody speaks and says, mentally, I was struggling, I think you've got to listen to it. I don't think you can ignore it too much. Is it just down to that? I want to say not really, but at the same time, his role hasn't changed that much. Yes, his partner has changed from Antonio to Scamacca. They're two completely different types of players. Antonio usually makes a lot of runs that Bowen benefits from. Scamacca perhaps doesn't make those same runs and gives him that space to run into. But generally speaking, on paper, he's been playing in his favourite position. Defensively, his responsibilities haven't changed. The right back, bar Tilo Kerr for a few games, hasn't changed. It's predominantly been Supal or Johnson there. So his environment at West Ham hasn't changed that much. But that pressure to get into the World Cup squad must have been incredible. And how often do we speak to people like Anton, Ferdinand and that, and they tell us, there's players better than me when I was that age, but they didn't have it up there. They did not make it. They got to 17 and they cracked and they had to go off to the National League and forge a career through there, whereas the rest of them that had it, Martin Noble speaks about it as well currently, about how he wasn't the best player in the team, but he was mentally tough enough to take it. And so when Bowen's saying, I struggled a bit, I've got a lot of sympathy for him in that regards, and I do believe him as well to some extent. And I think it's a brave thing to say, I suppose, in this day and age. And so, anyway, sorry for that long-winded answer, but it's nothing. It's something I've seen him say, and nobody's really spoke about it since. We've sort of just discarded and gone, we'll move along now. He's scoring goals now. Doesn't really matter. It's just that if the next England squad comes around at the end of March, to some extent, I hope he's not in it. I don't think he will be, but I hope he's not in it so he can focus on West Ham and almost build his form and confidence back up so that next time he is involved in England, he knows how to deal with the blows that come with it. You see other players like Marcus Rashford and stuff. Ten Hag, did it get to Marcus Rashford as well last season or whatever? You don't know. So anyway, Jack, do you think there's been an overreaction to Antonio's performance against Everton? An assist for Bowen, sprinted back and made one slide tackle, but that's about it. I think he's knowing the goal as well. No, against Everton. Sorry, I was listening to. I had the Derby one in my head there, but that's about it. Awful pass to end the first half.
An overreaction? How am I commenting on just sort of?
Do you think he's got too much praise for him playing well against Everton?
No, I don't. I think he often gets too much flack. Really, more the other way. I think a lot of the time, what I've tried to do really with Analytics United is try and explain that. I think we often assess players based on what we want them to be rather than who they actually are. And I think, Geo, your point about them being people and having their own issues and the whole psychological element of it is really salient when it comes to that. Also, just that, players have limitations. Every player, bar the absolute top elite players, and even them, they largely have limitations. Every player has some kind of limitation. And I think sometimes we demand a lot as fans and we want them to be the best they can possibly be. But, some players just don't have certain skill sets and excel at some things and not at others. And I think often we criticize perhaps a little too heavily players for things that they've just never been good at, like coming through the whole way through their careers. They might not have been known for a certain thing, and then they come to the Premier League, and I'm sure it's been the same where they were before. You just want them to be able to do everything, and it's just not the case. Antonio isn't someone who is going to suddenly at his age develop great composure and be able to deal with situations in the final third where he's got several options or is under huge pressure. In those situations throughout his career, throughout his West Ham career, he has often struggled at times. And I think sometimes we criticize too much based on those things. And for what he's asked to do, for what he's been asked to do as a striker for West Ham by David Moyes, I think he's done largely a very good job of that, executed that really well. And maybe we might be moving beyond him. Maybe he's getting too old for us. But I think in the time that he's been playing that role, he's done brilliantly at it.
Sam's asking what our ideal 11 with the players we have if there was no injuries. Now, while you think about that, because you'll need a minute to think about that answer, Jack, Gonzo, you think of yours as well. A little bit of admin. Can you please drop a like on the video whilst you are here? Over 1,000 people watching live, which is incredible. Thank you very much for joining us. Please do subscribe to Hammers Chat if you're new around here as well. I appreciate you joining us on deadline day. There's plenty of options, and you're here with us lots. So thank you. Jack, have you got your team now?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it.
What were you laughing at, Gonzo?
Well, you said you'd give him a minute. You gave him about 10 seconds.
Yeah, but I expect Jack to know it. Do you know something? Wait, hang on a minute. If I had to answer that, I think I'd have it done in about a minute.
Oh. Yeah,
you're better than both of us then.
I haven't done in a minute. Thank you.
I think the way that I would like to play with the current squad, would be to sort
I
of.
wait, hang on. I already know Jack's 11.
Oh, do you do?
Yeah, I reckon I know what you're going to say.
Okay, all right. Do you want to write it down now?
I will write it. I will write it down while you. While
We can't all be writing down. We can't all be writing stuff down.
I will write down what I think Jack's way to say.
I'll write down what I think I'm going to say.
All right.
Jackster,
okay.
You carry on.
I think what I would do with the current squad would be, I think what we've got lots of players who are very skilled in transition. So one of the things that I would be looking to do would be just to shift the transitions up the pitch a little bit. So to engage a little bit higher where we may have won the ball back previously in a low block setting, in very deep positions and countered from deep. I would be looking to win it a bit higher up the pitch. And I think someone like Lucas Paquetá is very good at that. I think Scamacca could be very good in that. Bowen can be very good at that. I think Pablo Fornals, another player, could be very useful in that setting. So for me, the best way to enable that in my head, at least, is to play some variation of a 4-3-3. Declan Rice as a holding midfielder to cover the situations where the two midfielders ahead of him can't win interceptions or fail to win interceptions or get played through or whatever. I think he's got fantastic ability to sweep that area and anticipate things, so he would be very good at that. I'd then play definitely Paquetá, and I think the third slot you could play several different players. I think there's a strong argument for Fornals, but there'd also be very strong arguments for Flynn Downs or Thomas Souček, or to then shift Downs back and play Rice on the left of that. I think any selection of those players is fair enough, and for different games you'd pick different players. You know, if you're looking at a very physical battle and a team that are very good from set pieces, I'd pick Thomas Souček. If you're looking at a team that are going to sit off a lot, I'd maybe pick someone like Pablo Fornals. My front three would probably be Cornet, Scamacca, Bowen, or Benrahma, Scamacca, Bowen. Again, dependent on the team. If they're going to come high and they're going to be transitions from deep at times, Cornet. If they're going to sit deeper, Benrahma. And then my back four would be Cresswell, Agard, Zuma, Soufal. And I think in a Moyes context, oh, you have smashed it. Yeah, you have absolutely smashed it. In a Moyes context,
look
I
at
would
that.
probably
All correct. Thank you, Gonzo. All correct. Soufal, Zuma, Agard, Cresswell, Rice, Paquetá, Fornals, Bowen, Scamacca, and Cornet. I knew it.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Thank you very much.
All I was going to say is in a Moyes context, I'd probably go Fabianski in goal because we don't use the keeper in build-up. If we were going to use the keeper in build-up a little bit more, then I'd probably shift that to Areola. But I don't think there's a huge difference between them as like actual goalkeepers, like in terms of shot stopping and stuff. I don't think there's a, maybe more so now as Fabianski is coming to the end of his career and his reflexes have dropped off a little bit. But up to very recently, I think they're both good goalkeepers, and Fabianski has been very good at that actual just goalkeeping part of his job.
Yeah, right. Last question for you, Jack.
Hold on, I've got to give you my team now because I've just written it out. Areola, Soufal, Zuma, Agard, Cresswell, Rice, Downs, Paquetá, Bowen, Scamacca, Cornet.
Very, very similar. Then you've got Downs instead of Fornals. Is that right? Yeah. I don't think many people will complain. I think a lot of people would have Benrahma in there instead of one of those players.
Just a bit of extra additional pace for me, and it's just a bit more direct. I think you get closer to Scamacca quicker.
I agree. I think if we were going to press more intensely, which I think is ultimately the way this team needs to go with the players that were brought in the summer, then someone like Cornet's ability to just drive in behind very, very quickly would be very useful.
And I miss his offsides as well.
He's only offside because the players behind him don't read his runs quick enough. There was far too many times in those games he was offside. I seen him make the run, and the person with the ball would take an extra touch and then play. And I thought, well, if he'd passed it when he ran, he'd been an own goal. But because
I only crashed into that car because the person in front stopped.
But it would frustrate me because we would come on the review and you would sit there going, Cornet was offside. I'm like, he's only offside because he wouldn't pass but you would never blame the player on the ball. You would blame Cornet, but Cornet was doing everything right.
It's always a different player, though, isn't it? It's funny. There's one common denominator, and it's Cornet, but it's never his fault. It's just everybody else who's in the team who's passed it.
Well, not everybody failed. It wasn't everybody. Now and again, Cornet would get put through on goal. So somebody was making those passes.
I like him. He's in my team. He's in my team. I'm saying.
Anyway.
Rashford's
offside all the time. So, There was one more. Where was it? Oh yeah, Sean was asking, do you think we'll see Skamaka and Ings play together?
No,
Together,
no.
not with each other. Together.
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. Really.
Neither.
I don't. Yeah,
I think that's the last straight partnership we will see. I think we will see Antonio and Skamaka, and then Antonio and Ings, and then Skamaka and Ings. You know, if we had to go two up front, I think that is a third choice for David Moyes.
Yeah, I
think he would
agree.
prefer Antonio with.
Yeah, you pair Antonio with one of them because you'd need to sort of you'd want someone to offer all of that hold up and for them to then finish the chances rather than having to. Yeah, it's just a bit weird to have those two together.
Excellent news. Anyway, well, Jack, thank you very much. Just before you go, will West Ham get relegated?
No, I don't think so. I think Stell's answer on this was really, really good. I would have said something I would say something incredibly similar, really. I think there are teams with worse problems. I think we've got a very good squad. I think we've got, hopefully, fingers crossed, players will come back from injury and make a big impact for us. I think players, like you said, Geo, have improved. I'm seeing some of those players that were brought in the summer starting to hit some better form recently, or finding their way into the best position for them and being able to hit better form as a result. So not for me. I think there are teams who have got much bigger problems. I think, even teams now that are adding really well, because there are teams adding really well, how are those players going to gel together? You can't necessarily throw 5 players in all at once and hope that you suddenly got an incredible team. I think that, it's difficult for all of those teams to fit those players in and make it work straight away. And I've been doing, this will be on the show, if we're doing a free Hamalytics show, we'll talk a little bit about possession value, which is something I've been working on through January. And the algorithm I've been working on is pretty suggestive that there are some teams that around us that are performing at their max or have been performing at their max or overperforming slightly, and then we're massively underperforming. So I think, if we can kind of pull more towards the average, our average level of performance across the second half of the season, then we should be all right. Where other teams, I think, may be seeing more of a drop off. I think Palace was a really great shout. I don't know if other people have spotted it, but I think they have massively overperformed to be where they are.
Gonzo's dad spotted it, but I think he's copying me.
But it was a good shout, and I think they may have some problems in the second half of the season, and Wolves similarly, even though they've added very well, have not been very good all season long and have picked up some results quite fortunately at times. I think don't create great chances, don't limit other teams as well as they should. So those two, Everton are in dire trouble, plus loads of others. Leicester looking in serious problems as well. Bournemouth, I don't know what's going to happen with them with all their new players. So lots of teams in worse positions than us, I think.
He's convinced me.
I like it. Yeah, I'm feeling good now. I'm feeling all right.
I was all depressed earlier.
Happy days.
Confident.
Well, Jack, thank you very much for joining us. Pleasure as always, and we'll catch up with you on Transfer Deadline Day in the summer.
Thanks, mate.
You're welcome.
Jack,
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
If you want to hear more from Jack, he does a podcast every single week over on our Patreon. Every week for 45 minutes to an hour, more than an hour. Sometimes he sits down with Charlie. They take a look back at the last game and they go through things. A lot more composed than me and Gonzo do, emotionless as well. And that's the type of stuff you get every single week. But don't join Patreon tonight, join tomorrow. So leave at an hour and then join tomorrow, because that's the best time of the month to join.
Also worth pointing out, sorry, Geo, to interrupt, just didn't reiterate it enough earlier, I feel, that Anton Ferdinand is a regular contributor on Hammers Chat Patreon as well. The link is in the description below if you want to sign up.
Anyway, one last guest, Gonzo, before we disappear to bed.
Indeedy.
Charlie Walsh.
I just burst out laughing because Nottingham Forest are still continuing to be Nottingham Forest. Not only have they spent today signing John Joe Shelvey, but they have also just announced they've signed Keylor Navas on loan from PSG. What is wrong with them? They just can't stop it. I love
Another
it.
signing, didn't they?
They love it. I can't. I just sit
Henderson's
and watch
injured though, isn't he? Henderson's got. I think Henderson's injured for a month or something, so they've got Navas in. It's not a bad sign. See that or Wayne Hennessy, so I completely understand why they're going to get another keeper. Right?
You're not wrong.
Completely get it.
I just love it. Nottingham Forest, man. They just can't help themselves. They love it.
Anyway, it's time for our last competition, but there's no alarm for this one. What we're going to do now, you have to get involved in live chat and give us your summary of the transfer window. Are you okay with it? Are you a little bit disappointed? No essays, just 2 or 3 sentences about the January transfer window. We're going to read them out. We're going to have a little discussion. And essentially, Charlie and Gonzo between them somehow are going to pick their favourite one and they're going to win a scarf. And so not only do they win a scarf, they win a couple of coasters as well. You can take your pick. We've got these coasters made up in the beer mats we brought out. We've got them made into coasters, reusable coasters, hardback, nice glossy finish on there as well. So the winner will get a scarf and a couple of coasters of their choice. So get your summary of the transfer window into the live chat. And while you're doing that, Stephen Gould's getting us off to a good start, isn't he?
Solid.
James Guns.
So you can't. The subject matter. You can't then say solid.
I mean, listen, look, it's solid work. It's good work.
Yeah.
Concise.
Frankie's disappointed we couldn't get another Jesse Lingard on loan.
One is plenty, I've got to say. You don't need Moyes chasing 2 of them.
Dan is disappointed but not surprised. Preparing for the Championship, not even doing that properly. Doofus think we needed a left back, a striker, and a centre half. John saying it looks like he's not going to PSG. Not that's relevant as such, but that's interesting. Chelsea are stuck with him then, isn't he? But anyway, Charlie, what's your thoughts on the transfer window?
It's crap. It's one of those. It's just crap. I'm like I said earlier. I'm not shocked. I'm not entirely surprised that we haven't managed to get something and deals done, because it's quite a habit we have. But given the situation we're in, it just feels very anticlimactic. And I find myself wondering if we would have acted the same way had we swapped managers. That's not to say it's David Moyes' fault, but I feel like, Geo, you're always talking about moving that decision further down the line and always sort of leaving it till tomorrow kind of thing. If that has constantly just been the thing, then what are you going to do? Are you going to back Moyes or are you not going to back Moyes? And we're sort of in this this awkward middle ground where we've sort of done neither. And I don't, it's not that I necessarily think we need tons of players or all this other thing or massive upheaval. Like you said earlier, I was listening when you're talking to Stel on that idea of we spent the money in the summer. It's not like we need that. It's just you look at it and you see there are just big holes in the squad. And especially in this day and age, I mean, listen, a long time ago it would have been a problem, but especially now, having a selection of fullbacks as weak as we do currently is just a big worry for me. It doesn't matter whether you're playing wing backs, it doesn't matter if you're playing fullbacks. None of them fill me with massive amounts of confidence right now. And going into a relegation battle, that's a massive problem for me. So I'm really unhappy. I'm really unhappy with it. But it's now just a case of, well, good luck, David. Hope you can drag it and turn it around. And I have some faith. I have faith we'll stay up, but I don't know if I have faith he'll do it with aplomb, let's say.
Gonzo, what's your thoughts? And while Gonzo's speaking, Charlie, you're going to have a read through some of the comments. I've seen Gonzo favourite a couple, though, so there are a couple of contenders in there by Gonzo.
There you go. It's just it's disappointing. It's left me ultimately frustrated, actually. You've got to have some steely resolve, I think, to sit there and do nothing whilst your competitors strengthen. I think that's sort of it doesn't fly in the face of football. It flies in the face of business practice. You wouldn't do it. Supermarkets wouldn't do it. I can't think of too many businesses would watch their competitors strengthen while they didn't. Particularly when you have this sort of finite period to do it. I'm not entirely. I've got to say, I think a lot of what we've done is we've done things in what we would consider to be a risk-free way, but I think it actually has been risky. I think a lot of this, we've heard a lot of the noises throughout the transfer window, that's a risk. Or keeping David Moyes is a risk. Buying this player is a risk. Sorry, getting a new manager in is a risk. Getting another player in is a risk. I actually think not getting players in is the risk. I think perhaps retaining David Moyes has been the risk. So I think it would boil down to it. This transfer window has been uncertainty. And I think this uncertainty has played out since November, really, that the board haven't really known what to do. And sort of time's caught up on them, really. And now the transfer window's shut. Not quite enough determination and decisiveness to get rid of David Moyes, but not quite enough faith in him to deliver the signings that he wanted either. So I just think the whole thing, we've been caught in a halfway house, and it's ended up with us not doing too much. Obviously, we brought Danny Ings in. I think forget the injury. You know, I anyone that could have predicted that, I'm not so sure. It's not the fact he got injured. It was that choice. And when you see these other clubs bringing in other players, you know, sort of new, young, exciting players, I think the messaging has been blurred as well. David Moyes has been talking about this young, energetic team, and he brings in Danny Ings. It's a firefighting exercise. I think, okay, we'll fight the fire by all means, but there are also other positions that probably need dealing with as well. Ultimately, I can't be that massively disappointed with transfer deadline day, although I was feeling a bit melancholy because I didn't expect us to do anything once it got to here. I've got to be honest, with a week to go, I thought we'd do some business. By the time we got down to today, I thought, it's just not going to happen. So, yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts on it, really.
Lewis says Danny Ings is an anagram of relegation. Now, Lewis, where's the L?
No.
Where's the R?
I'm not sure you understand what an anagram is, but Danny Ings is definitely not an anagram of relegation.
No.
Although it made me look twice, so
you have to. Well, of course, you've got to check it out.
I thought that's not right. And I thought, is it?
No, I know.
Danny Lings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I think it's the Terem Murphy bid. It's another phantom bid, isn't it? We supposedly bid 25 million for this striker, didn't get him, so we spent nothing. Really, we've got 25 million sat there for Terem Murphy, and we chose to not spend it. What we're keeping it for? And I almost understand David Moyes last year saying, I'm going to keep it for the summer. Don't agree with it. Like I said, we're going for Champions League football. He's almost accepting we're going to get Europa League football at best, and that's it. But I'm going to save my money. You can't do that this year. You can't. What are you saving your money for? In case we get relegated, the club lose less money. What are you saving the cash for? Supposedly, either that or we didn't actually bid for Terem Murphy. Either that bid was rubbish and we didn't want him. Maybe we bid for him knowing that he was never going to come. Terem Murphy said, I don't want to go to the Premier League, so we've gone, well, we'll bid for him because there's no chance we're going to sign him, so we'll bid for him. And I know you might think that's a bit sceptical, but this is where I am. And it's something we saw last January with Calvin Phillips, with Rafinha, where we're bidding for players we know we're never going to get them. I actually believe the bids are true. I just think they're incredibly unrealistic. And it just frustrates me so much. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's like, hey, look how busy we are at West Ham. We're really trying to get this striker in. Well, you're not, though, are you? You're just trying to look like you're getting a striker in, which you're managing to do. But the likelihood of us signing Terem Murphy was literally 0%. How did Charlie, you, me, and everybody watching this right now, how did we know Terem Murphy wasn't going to come 3-4 weeks ago? Yet we were still supposedly bidding for him, trying to persuade him. Guess where he ended up? Nice. Well, who'd have thought that was going to happen? Well, I'll tell you who'd have thought that was going to happen. Everybody. We all knew he was going to Nice. We all knew he was going to Nice. It really frustrates me. It just bugs me. And it feels like we're getting taken for being stupid more than, I'll just put anything out there. That fans will lap it up kind of thing. It's incredibly frustrating. I think you will not convince me otherwise. This window is about preparing in case we get relegated, so that if we do go down, we've got some provisions in place already in terms of the playing squad. We've tried to save a little bit of money here, tried to save a bit of money there. We've got Connor Coventry tied down for 12 months, so we get relegated. We've got him and Flynn Downs at this club, the centre midfield sorted already kind of thing. And you won't convince me otherwise. Danny Ings, like I said, we buy him if we're in the Premier League. He's a great asset next season for second, third choice striker. We get relegated. He's a great striker for your first choice striker in the Championship. You will not convince me otherwise that this is preparing to get relegated. You could argue it's a wise thing to do since it's a realistic option. But I would have preferred us to take the option of let's try and get out of relegation rather than prepare for it. And it feels like we've done the latter rather than the former. I agree with Gonzo. It's risky doing nothing, but we're in this position because of not dealing with the manager's situation. If we have dealt with it, which is this is our manager, then deal with that by supporting him in the transfer window. We've basically said that's our manager, back him on. No, we're not doing that. He's not that much of our manager. He's only in charge for the next few games. Maybe the rest of the season we'll have to wait and see. Well, if you're at that point, just get rid of him now and get somebody in. the worst thing is we all seen this coming. We all saw it coming. Well, maybe not Gonzo because he applies his own logic to what the board's going to do. But apart from that, we all saw it coming. We all knew Moyes was still going to be here. And we've all got this worry that Nick does, which is what we're going to do if we lose. Are we going to sack him then? What, less than a week after the window closes, we go get a new manager in? We see it coming a mile away. It's just incredibly frustrating. Anyway, sorry for the rant, but...
Sorry, I would understand. I don't think we're preparing for relegation. I think you're trying to apply logic where there is none. I don't think there is a lot of. I don't think people. We're trying looking at it because we talk about it every day and whatever, and we try to like, what's going on here? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? I don't actually think there's any logic there. I think it's just take it as you come, and I think Danny Ings is the perfect example of that. Is, well, we've got to sign someone now because both our strikers have got injured. Skamaka's out for a long time. We've got to do something now, and so they go and do it. But the rest of the time, there's lots of thinking about it. You can't look at the situation and go, "Oh, Muffy was the answer," because there's no logic there. It's just no logic. And I think you can look at it as a perfect striker for the championship, for example, but you wouldn't spend 125 grand on a striker in the championship a week. You would.
There's clauses.
I know. I understand. I understand that. But what I mean
well,
is,
that comment's irrelevant, man. If you say you won't give him 125,
because what I'm saying
I agree.
is
There's clauses.
You're looking at it and you're trying to find logic where there is none. Let's be real. We've known this for years. The bigger problem with me for this window, and it sort of highlights. David Moyes is supposed to be in control of transfers, right? It's supposed to be, but also kind of isn't supposed to be, because we got some other people in who are looking at scout, who are supposed to be like, oh, this is head of recruitment. Oh, but David Moyes thinks he's just a scout. Okay, all right, what's going on there? Okay, well, David Moyes, who famously can't stop buying centre-backs at West Ham, loves them. We sell one of his centre-backs and we don't bring someone in. Okay, wait, hang on. Okay, right, let's think about this. It shows that they're just, again, as per usual, this whole mess just continues to exist. And that's because there is no logic. There's no 4-4. It's the exact same thing we've seen for years at West Ham, which is when the problem is directly in front of our faces, then we'll scramble to try and fix it. But until then, like further proud, that's late. No, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about it. The real shock to me is that we haven't gone out and signed someone on loan. I would have, if you'd asked me at the beginning of this window, what did you expect? I would have said, we will sign one person and they will be on loan. It will probably end up being a centre-back.
I think for what it's worth, I think we might have got Michael Keane had they not got rid of Lampard and got Dyche. I think Son Dyche going there has changed Keane's future at Everton.
That's fair. That's fair. But I just can't look at it and say, where's the logic? There is literally none. There's none. I've never seen any evidence of there being logic in the way we do things. Skamaka's another great example. We spent years trying to find the right striker. It's difficult to find a striker that's like Mikel Antonio. And then you go and sign a man who could not be more opposite. And then what happens when you play him? You ask him to do Antonio things. Excuse me?
I think me and you have depressed Gonzo further.
Yeah, sorry. Jack came and said things that were good.
I'm seeing his soul drifting. I'm seeing his soul just drifting out of his body as we speak.
My bad. It happens. It happens.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
By the way, Sutter's gone Leicester. That's confirmed now.
What's that, sorry?
Yeah. Sutter's gone Leicester.
Yeah, that's just been confirmed.
Anyway, shall we leave it there then?
Sorry, Gonzo. Apologies.
Hey. Don't be silly. Oh, we've got to select a winner for the scarf.
Oh yeah, we do. Who would you pick, Gonzo? I've seen who you.
I think I quite like. I don't want to overly say it, but I'm looking at the list there on the highlighted ones. I think there's a nice bit of. The last one's quite catchy, isn't it?
Yeah, and the one from AS.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. I don't know if it's the same order for both of us. Okay, we'll go with that. You happy with that one, Charlie?
Yeah, I started, so I'm good with that.
Okay, the winner is Andy Smith. You have won the scarf and coasters. Your comment was lost Dawson for the relegation battle, lost Ashby for the future, and signed Ings 4 years too late. Disappointing.
It's catchy. It's good.
So, Andy, please email us. Email us, hammerschat@gmail.com. We'll get you a scarf and a couple of coasters sent out. Charlie, any final words from yourself?
Yeah, but if you liked what Jack said, there'll be Hamalytics will be tomorrow on the Patreon, which is a perfect time to join, first of the month and all that sort of stuff. We'll of course be back for the match day, all that good stuff, where hopefully West Ham will do bits. Look, it is what it is. I'm confident that we won't get relegated, but as I said this on, I went on Claren Booze the other night and I said it there. To be honest with you, there are 3 worse teams than us in the league. And that's not a shining endorsement whatsoever. I am confident we will not get relegated. My bigger issue is, similarly to how, we've been saying recently, Geo, we get a win and then all of a sudden we have to wait 3 more games until we make a decision about David Moyes. We get this sort of thing of just kicking it permanently down the road. What happens when we stay up? If we stay up, he probably stays, right?
Don't ask me now. I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah.
But
I know it's just one of those things where I think we're just sort of in this perpetual cycle of waiting now, and it's not going to be the most fun thing in the world. But I do think we'll stay up despite a crappy window.
Gonzo.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow on from that, I mean, we'll do a lot of this. I would like it to, if we do manage to stay up, and I hope we do. And I get buoyed by listening to what Charlie's just said and what Jack's just said there, and Chris earlier on as well. It started off the show with us. That makes me more positive. And if we do, I'd like them all gone. I really would. I'd like David Moyes gone. I'd like the ownership. I'd like new owners. And funny enough, you say Gonzo's got a recorded video. I've already done it. I've already recorded tomorrow's video. Check. It's already uploaded. Go and check on the dashboard now.
I've gone to bed.
And see, the thing is, I've done it because I knew we weren't going to sign anyone. I did it before we even started this show.
What's the title of the video?
It is entitled "A Massive Gamble. West Ham do nothing on deadline day whilst our rivals strengthen."
Nice one.
Cheers. There you go. And the thing is, I mentioned in that video, just everyone else looks so forward thinking compared to us. Everyone looks vibrant owners, younger owners, younger managers. So I think, if we stay up, I would like the club to be moved on to new ownership, and I'd like a new manager, basically.
Frustrating window, disappointing and expected, and I didn't think we were going to do anything, but it doesn't mean I can't be disappointed. I still am disappointed, but I've got some hope. It is hope, and it's hope that's based on little evidence. There's not stacks of it which suggests that we're going to be fine. There's little of it, and we have that curveball coming in March where we have European football coming into our schedule, which teams around us do not have. So that's a little bit of a worry.
Yeah.
But we'll see how the landscape lies when we come to March, and which players are fit, which players are available, which ones are injured, so on and so forth. We'll deal with that one in March. But as it sits tonight, I'm not surprised, but I'm still disappointed that we didn't bring anybody in. We have the ability to bring in 2 domestic loans. We've not utilised any. It's not that there weren't players available. Before somebody says, well, who's available? There's always players available.
In that voice.
Yeah, it annoys me when we went to the strike and said, well, what striker was there? I don't know. I'm a flipping scout. I'm a West Ham fan with an opinion that we should have bought a striker. My opinion is today we should have at least loaned in players. And before someone like, who's available? Well, Spence went to France. And I know you might say, well, Tottenham won't deal with us, but you've asked who's available. There's somebody that's available. I'm answering the question before it even comes. Before I wrap it up, Doug, thank you very much for £10 super chat, my friend. He said, if my maths is correct, we win, draw, lose for the rest of the season. After 18 games, we'll have 24 more points, giving us 42 points. Moyes won't be sat in that, and that'll keep us up. That will keep us up. So let's hope we can get that record. But I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody for watching us live. We've had 1,200 people watching us at one point, which is just mental. I remember doing this for the very first time with Gonzo. It was about a 5-hour show. We discussed every Premier League transfer deal we could, and we were scratching our armpits with 50 people watching us. So to get to here now is unbelievable, and we still pinch ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Like I said, there's loads of options tonight. It's not just West Ham. Every fan channel is doing their show. There's Sky Sports, there's TalkSport, everything. You've chosen to come and join us on Hammers Chat, so it means a lot to us. Thank you very much.
Well said.
And also, thank you to all the guests. We had Chris Akabusi, Anton, Ferdinand, Perry Fenwick. We had Jack. We had Nick, we had Stelios, and then we had Charlie, Ray, and Michael as well. So a massive thank you to all the guests for popping on and having a chin wag with us for the last couple of hours. Do you know something, Gonzo? despite the crap business, I've quite enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been a nice evening, mate. I'll tell you what, really, really nice evening. It's got, so I'd rather be doing this than sat watching, Sky Sports doing no reflection on Sky Sports' coverage, but we've had a bit more of a laugh here. And to be fair, it's a bit of a damning indictment on West Ham's transfer window activity. We spent most of the evening not discussing West Ham's transfer activity, so because we know there hasn't been any, so at least we've been able to have a good chat just about all things West Ham. Can I once again please just point you in the direction of our Patreon page? If you are going to sign up, basically it's an additional Hammers Chat channel. You are going to sign up, leave it 20 minutes until it's gone past midnight, because you get the best value by doing it that way. There are 3 separate tiers, so hopefully we budget for each and every requirement. Loads of additional content. Anton, Ferdinand's on there, Jack's on there, Charlie and Ray with their podcast. We got breakfast shows, we got build-up shows, we got opposition previews. Geo often gets the opposition team. Very right. We've got player ratings videos, loads and loads of different stuff. Good discounts on the store. Giveaways. If you like the armband, if you like the scarf, we give loads of that stuff. I can say we give loads of that crap away. We give loads of that stuff away every month. We had a big giveaway, loads and loads of stuff as well. And your support would be very, very much appreciated. Links in the description below. That's patreon.com/Hammers Chat.
Anyway, you know how we end the video. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like on it. Scouting you around here, myself and Gonzo. Catch you in a bit.